Chapter 2151. In the ruins of the ancient palace, Xiaochen drank alone, thinking about something. Lu Riyue's expression was equally unsightly. She was still angry at Xiaochen, angry at him for lying to her despite having something he could not say. The two stood with their backs to each other, not saying a word. The atmosphere turned silent. Ka. Lu Benwei stepped on the rubble and appeared before the two. Lu Riyue gently drifted over to Lu Benwei's side. Then she asked, "Senior brother, how are Master's injuries?" "It's fine. It's just some old problems. Junior sister, there is no need to worry." Lu Riyue nodded slightly and took her leave, not willing to linger. Xiaochen stood up and walked over to Lu Benwei. He said somewhat guiltily, "Sorry, big brother Lu. I was rash before this." Xiaochen had always been like this. Wrong was wrong, right was right. Previously he had been too stubborn and rash, causing Senior Shimu, whom he owed a debt of gratitude, to vomit blood. No matter what, he could not justify this. Xiaochen thought about it. Back when he was in the ice-fire wasteland, if not for fate, he would have comprehended all things rejoicing together. Perhaps he would have died in the mouths of the mastiffs. With such a debt, he could not show off his skills before Senior Shimu. Lu Benwei patted Xiaochen's shoulder and said, "Come with me. I'll tell you a story." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Xiaochen followed Lu Benwei. He pushed off with his feet and soared into the air. Then he arrived at a cliff and sat down to watch the clouds rise and fall. The clouds here were like fog, vast and boundless. In the blink of an eye, it looked like a boundless fog sea. Sitting at the cliff and watching the sea, one felt like they were in the sky or at the seaside. It was incredibly wondrous. Lu Benwei took out a flask of wine and said, "In the past, there was a person in a noble clan of swordsmen with 10,000 years of inheritance. His father, grandfather, and ancestors were all swordsmen. He started practicing the sword at the age of 3 and displayed outstanding talent. He bore the expectations of his clan. However, no one knew that what he truly loved was the saber. When he was 12, he was forced to leave his clan for the sake of practicing the saber. The facts proved that his choice was not wrong. He's handsome and can be considered a monster, but his talent in the saber Dao is even more monstrous. He is known as the Fiendish Saber. Before the age of 100, he became a sovereign emperor. His saber skills are unique. Many of the old seniors' understanding of the saber skills cannot compare to his. They all think that he will definitely become a powerful bladesman with boundless prospects. But he left home at a young age and was obsessed with saber techniques. He didn't learn anything about how to conduct himself. Her character has always been like that of a 12-year-old child. She is proud and stubborn, likes to listen to others' praises, and cannot stand external stimulation. Even after becoming a sovereign emperor, she still has the heart of a fragile girl. That's nothing. Most of the Sword Dao seniors like him, and many swordsmen praise him generously. As Xiaochen listened at the side, he already knew that Lu Benwei was talking about the fiendish saber Shimu. To think that this Shimu came from a noble clan of swordsmen. Since ancient times, there has been a battle between the sword and the saber. However, martial artists were always competitive, and they always wanted to see who was better. This was a noble clan of swordsmen. Furthermore, it was a noble clan of swordsmen that had existed for 10,000 years. Clearly, they placed great importance on the distinction between the sword and the saber. If not for their dedication to the sword Dao and love for the sword Dao, without an atmosphere where the sword reigned supreme, a noble clan of swordsmen would not be able to exist for more than 10,000 years. In such a noble clan where the sword reigned supreme, a scion suddenly appeared and went to learn the saber. This could be considered disgraceful. It was easy to imagine what kind of mockery and difficulties this scion would face. Hence, Shimu left home at the age of 12, leaving a noble clan of swordsmen that had existed for 10,000 years. However, something seemed to have happened later. Lu Benwei paused for a long time before continuing. Given his pride and stubbornness as well as his heart of glass, it should not have been a big deal. However, after he advanced to sovereign emperor, he returned to the main clan, thinking that he could prove himself to his father and the clan with his accomplishments. Xiaochen thought to himself, this is rather normal. Everyone wants to prove themselves. Back then, You all did not want me to practice the saber, making things difficult for me and mocking me. Now I return with glory. But he met a genius in the way of the sword that only appears once in 10,000 years in the family. Furthermore, he is also his cousin. In a situation where Xiao Chen's cultivation was lower than his, Xiao Chen used a 1-meter-long sword to break the saber in his hand. He lost miserably in front of the family elders, father and grandfather. Xiao Chen was stunned when he heard that. Just by putting himself in Shimu's shoes, he knew how embarrassed Shimu must have been. Originally, he wanted to come back to prove that he wasn't wrong, but he didn't expect to prove that he was wrong. Furthermore, someone weaker than Shimu had broken his saber. To Shimu, who wanted to show his holiness, this was a fatal humiliation. He could imagine that the clansmen who looked at him at that time must have been sneering and disdainful. There's no need to feel sorry for yourself. Just train hard and kill your way back in the future. When Xiao Chen heard this, he said softly, his tone filled with lofty sentiments and determination. That's right. That person thinks the same as you. A temporary setback is nothing. However, something happened just at this moment. A strange person using the saber suddenly appeared in the Great Thousand Realms. No one knows where he came from, but he just suddenly appeared. Then he showed up in the central Great Realm with his superb saber skills. Soon he rose up like a comet, kicking up huge waves among the bladesmen. This is a junior with even more talent than master. His saber skills are simply too dazzling, astonishing everyone. At the mention of this person, a trace of sorrow flashed in Lu Benwei's eyes. He no longer called Shimu by his alias and directly answered. This strange person who suddenly appeared was even more talented than Master. When word of this reached Master's ears, he naturally did not want to accept it. Master immediately fought with him and lost after 100 moves. After that, they fought a total of 9 times. Each time, the defeat was more devastating than the one before. The last time, Master advanced to Foe God and wanted to fight again. In the end, he lost before he could even draw his saber. Lu Benwei said sullenly. Later on, everyone learned that that person came from an abandoned land. He called himself Pan Huang, and always had a smile that could melt ice on his face. He was also known as the Spring Snowblades Man. Do you know how strong this person is? The current ranking of experts in the saber, Dao, does not include this person. My master is the strongest person in name. There is no point. This person has already gone too far on the path of the saber Dao. Pan Huang. Xiao Chen's heart shook. Unexpectedly, he heard about Pan Huang's legend from Lu Benwei. He really wanted to say that he came from the same abandoned land as Pan Huang. However, after thinking about it, he held back and did not say it. This Spring Snowbladesman dealt an even greater blow to Master than his younger cousin. After defeat, he no longer has any intention of returning to the clan. Feeling curious, Xiao Chen asked, "Who is his younger cousin?" Lu Benwei mocked. "This younger cousin of his is incredible. He is the strongest person in the sword Dao, Su Han's Han. The Yemwu dynasty's Su clan is an extraordinary noble clan famous for the sword." When Xiao Chen heard that, he remained silent. When he thought about this senior Shimu, he felt really helpless. Shimu was naturally conceited. Unfortunately, the 2 greatest enemies he faced were the strongest person in the saber Dao and the strongest person in the sword Dao. No wonder Shimu looked so old and lethargic, his temper strange. Hence, you actually don't have to apologize to Master. Master has such a strange temper. Just don't mind it. He looks old, but in reality, he has the heart of a young girl. He is not willing to admit that your talent is stronger than his. However, he cherishes your talent and cannot bear to bury it. So he ordered me to send you the inheritance painting. He is a very contradictory and tangled person. When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt somewhat flabbergasted. Now he finally understood everything. After being stunned for a long time, Xiao Chen smiled in disappointment and frustration. Had I known earlier, if I had lost to Senior's statue back then, all this would not have happened. Lu Benwei smiled and said, "That might really be possible. What should we do now? I'll find a place for you to stay first. Just follow Junior Sister and cultivate with me for the next few days. Don't mind our master-disciple relationship too much." Given Master's temper, he will definitely not take you in. However, if you refuse to leave, he will not chase you out either. At this point, Lu Benwei thought of something. Then he said seriously, "Oh right. Before I left, I heard Master muttering to himself. It might be of some help to your problem. How can a drop of water shatter the sky? Only with disrespect can one have the possibility to shatter the vault of heaven. Only with an unyielding heart can one endure 10,000 years of loneliness. And only then can one have the chance to shatter the vault of heaven. Only with an unchanging heart can a drop of water turn into an endless vault of heaven." Xiao Chen's eyes lit up, feeling suddenly enlightened. The many layers of fog in the second inheritance painting slowly parted. After listening to the painting, Xiao Chen muttered to himself. Then he quickly took out the painting and looked at it carefully. Unknowingly, Xiao Chen immersed himself in the painting, forgetting everything else. Lu Benwei sat at the side, quietly drinking wine and not disturbing Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen thought enviously, no wonder Master cannot bear to bury his talent. Back then, I looked at this second painting for more than 10 years before I managed to understand a little. I nearly lost myself in it, and could not come out. Since then, Master has given up on letting me continue learning the fiendish saber inheritance. That would only bring harm and no benefits. However, now, with just a few words from his master, Xiao Chen seemed to understand everything, as if he already understood everything. Chapter 2152. Boom. After some time, the painting in front of Xiao Chen burst into flames. A drop of spiritual blood flickered in the ashes, looking very strange. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and revealed an expression of joy. He vaguely sensed that his saber great Dao was one step closer to a Dao domain. The fiendish saber inheritance had many similarities to his flawless great Dao. Back when Xiao Chen comprehended all things rejoicing together, he vaguely sensed that the fiendish saber inheritance could complete his saber Dao. Now that he comprehended the second move of the fiendish saber inheritance, he was even more certain that he could form a saber Dao domain if he worked hard on the fiendish saber inheritance. When Lu Benwei, who was at the side, saw this scene, he was greatly startled. The wine flask in his hand fell off the cliff. This scene stunned Lu Benwei. He said, How did you do it?" Back then, Master said that there was a drop of fiendish blood in this inheritance painting. Back then, Master brought out the fiendish saber inheritance to its limits. He had to find another way to complete it himself. However, he still could not obtain the fiendish blood. This could be considered a lifelong regret. Xiao Chen felt excited. This fiendish saber inheritance seemed to have a mysterious origin. Even Senior Shimu could not completely comprehend it. Xiao Chen guessed that it might have something to do with his flawless saber Dao. However, he did not dare to be sure. Sorry. I forgot myself." Lu Benwei performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Little brother Xiao Chen, congratulations on obtaining the second move of the inheritance. Water droplet destroying the firmament. Congratulations." Xiao Chen returned the bow and said, "Although I comprehended it, I will still need a long time to obtain its true meaning and bring out its might. That is natural. However, there is no rush. Come with me. I will find a residence for you to stay in. In the future, you can cultivate here. There is no need to care about Shimu being the venerate. Just come with us to Fiend Cloud Hall to cultivate." "Thank you, big brother Lu." Ha ha ha. Of course. After arranging a residence for Xiao Chen, Lu Benwei said, "You can go directly to Fiend Cloud Hall tomorrow morning. Master will speak about the Dao there every morning. For the next few days, junior brothers Zhang Yushan and the other two will be in confinement. At that time, there might only be you, me, and junior sister Lu." Right. The cave was rather simple and crude. However, there were spirit gathering formations, cultivation rooms, and secret realms. After looking around, he felt very satisfied. The primal chaos spiritual energy was much better than in his residence in the Divine Chun. Early the next morning, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and washed up. Then he rushed to Fiend Cloud Palace. Chen Xiao Chen Xiao Chen Chen and Heaven, Spirit, Xiao Chen Yu. While in the primal chaos, Muyu comma Xiao, and Sun comma, the Ilum. Of King. Chun, of. Chun Dao of. He Dao. is. In today's lecture, we bladesmen naturally cultivate the saber Dao. There were 3,000 great Daos, and there were no distinctions between them. However, there were always some special great Daos that, once comprehended, would allow one's strength to reach astonishing heights. For example, the space-time Dao, the reincarnation Dao, the death Dao, and the life Dao. Unfortunately, our saber Dao is not a special saber Dao. However, this does not mean that the saber Dao is weaker than these great Dao, because the ultimate goal of the 3,000 great Dao is the heavenly Dao. In the end, they will all return to the same place. Shimu spoke indifferently from the platform. His voice was calm, but his meaning was simple. He didn't deliberately mystify them, making them feel like they understood, but he also didn't make them feel as if they didn't understand. Instead, he didn't make them feel as if they didn't understand at all. This was especially so when Shimu explained some special great Dao like the Death Dao and the Cycle Dao. This was refreshing to Xiaoqun. As expected, it was good to have a master, especially an empty god realm expert. Xiaoqun leaned against a tree and listened attentively. Suddenly, he heard the voice stop. When Xiaoqun startled awake, he saw Shimu looking at him. Feeling a little guilty, he cupped his hands and said, "Xiaoqun greets senior." Shimu glanced at Xiaoqun and ignored him. He continued speaking on his own, making Xiaoqun feel embarrassed. "Little brother Xiaoqun, sit beside me." Lu Benwei waved his hand, resolving Xiaoqun's awkwardness. Xiaoqun thanked Lu Benwei. Seeing that Shimu did not object, he quickly sat down. On the other side, Lu Ryue looked at Xiaoqun before withdrawing her gaze and fixing it on Shimu. After 15 minutes, Shimu finished his explanation. Lu Ryue started asking questions, asking what she did not understand. Shimu answered patiently, drawing inferences about other things. This made everyone feel like the clouds parted and the fog cleared up. Xiaoqun could not help saying, "I have a question. If a person loses something in the Saber Dao, they will discover that these things are crucial to forming the Saber Dao domain. However, I discovered that these things are crucial to forming the Saber Dao domain. It is extremely difficult to pick them up again. Instead, they have become bottlenecks. How am I to break through?" Shimu snorted coldly and retorted, "You are not my disciple. Why should I tell you?" When Lu Benwei saw the situation, he quickly said, "Master, disciple recently felt that my Saber Dao domain reached a bottleneck. I seem to have forgotten some of the things I learned in the past." Shimu glanced at Lu Benwei and said indifferently, "If you keep it in your mind, there will be an echo. Since it concerns a bottleneck, it must be a mark deep in your bones and soul. How can it be easily erased? If you are patient, you will eventually find it. If you feel that you have forgotten it and do not think about it, how can it respond to you?" After saying that, Shimu left. Xiaoqun stood up and said, "Thank you, big brother Lu." Lu Benwei smiled casually and said, "It's fine. I saw that you were indeed in a rush. Given your talent, you should have comprehended the Saber Dao domain long ago." Xiaoqun sighed and said, "If you keep it in your mind, there will be an echo. Senior Shimu is right. I need to be patient and persistent. My flawless Saber Dao will one day form a flawless Dao domain. Junior sister, please wait." When Lu Benwei saw Lu Ryue leave, he called out to her, "Junior brothers are not here today. However, we cannot delay this sparring session." Lu Ryue said, "Senior brother, you want to exchange moves with me? I am much stronger than you. Even if I suppress my cultivation, there is not much point. Let Xiaoqun spar with you. The two of you are similar in strength. If you exchange moves, with me giving you pointers, you will definitely improve." When Lu Ryue heard this, she immediately became unhappy. She was a person who drew a clear line between love and hate. The first time they met, Xiaoqun took liberties with her. Then, when she asked him to explain the secret, he lied to her that there was no secret. This made her very uncomfortable. Right now, Lu Ryue was not willing to exchange moves with Xiaoqun. However, due to her first senior brother, she had no choice but to agree. She said seriously, "Please give me pointers." Lu Ryue drew the short saber at her waist. A strong wind blew, and willow leaves fluttered about. Lu Ryue moved like a leaf in the wind, her figure hard to find. Lu Ryue attacked as soon as she said she would. She only wanted to defeat Xiaochen quickly and end this exchange. As Xiaochen watched Lu Riyue attack, he felt deeply moved. It was like he had returned to the days when he was at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qingyan Peak. With one glance, he could tell the truth of the saber. To others, the name of the willow leaf saber might strike fear in their hearts. However, to Xiaochen, it was very familiar. Although the willow leaf saber was a saber technique that Lu Riyue created, it was derived from the Qingyan Peak's 7 secret techniques, especially the saber before her. This clearly had the shadow of the clear wind chop from back then. It followed the body like a shadow, only seeing the cool wind and not the saber. However, this time, it was even more exquisite. Not only could she not sense where the saber intent was, but her figure was also erratic. What was even rarer was that with the support of soul energy and the wind saber domain, its aura was incomparable. Dang! Xiaochen drew the tyrant's saber, and his saber moved like lightning. It looked like a casual strike, but it happened to strike the opening of Lu Riyue's move. Hey! Lu Benwei exclaimed softly, and his eyes lit up. Where did he find this opening? He did not even notice it. Lu Riyue was even more startled. When she saw Xiaochen's expressionless face, she could not help feeling even angrier. Lu Riyue executed the willow leaf saber again. It gently drifted up and soared up. It was like a phantom of light and shadow, moving as fast as a strong wind. When Xiaochen drew his saber, he blocked the attack at the critical moment again, appearing very ingenious. Good. Lu Benwei could not help clapping and cheering, revealing a smile. In the blink of an eye, 100 moves had passed. Xiaochen dealt with the moves as they came. Lu Riyue's originally unhappy mood had already drifted far away. She was now immersed in exchanging moves with Xiaochen. She felt that Xiaochen's moves were very profound. He always struck her weak points, allowing her to quickly make up for her deficiencies. This had a miraculous effect on the progress of her saber techniques. The most important thing was that Lu Riyue felt very satisfied for some reason. It was like the scene before her had become familiar, making her immersed in it unconsciously. She had never experienced this kind of feeling from any of the martial practitioners who had exchanged blows with her before. After 1,000 moves, the two of them sheathed their sabers and retreated. Ha, good. Junior sister, I was right, wasn't I? Exchanging blows with brother Xiaochen is indeed very helpful to you. Lu Benwei laughed as he walked over and said softly, as if Lu Riyue was afraid that she would not be able to hide her joyful expression. She put on a straight face and turned around to leave. However, the instant she turned around, her heart pounded heavily. Lu Benwei was confused and scratched his head. Isn't it good? Chapter 2153. After Lu Riyue left, only Xiaochen and Lu Benwei remained in Fiend Cloud Hall. Looking at Lu Riyue's back, Xiaochen entered deep thought. He was in a rush to tell Lu Riyue the truth. However, he warned himself over and over again that he was not strong enough. If he said it out loud, he would die early. The person he loved the most was right in front of him, but he had to pretend to be a stranger. Only Xiaochen himself could understand the bitterness within. Brother Xiaochen, this blade technique of yours is truly refreshing. However, the flaws are also obvious, Lu Benwei said with a smile. Every saber technique had its flaws. There was no perfect martial technique or cultivation technique in the world. Xiaochen naturally understood this principle. He did not get angry. Instead, he said politely, "Senior brother, please guide me." No problem. After some pointers, Xiaochen was shocked to discover that the seemingly unremarkable Lu Benwei's skills with the saber were actually so exquisite. Not only did his cultivation surpass Xiaochen's, but his understanding of saber techniques also shocked Xiaochen. Shimu was far from as simple as Xiaochen thought. If it were Shimu, he would be an existence that others could only look up to, only watch from afar and not talk about in detail. Lu Benwei was perfect. He could discuss with Xiaochen in detail, and they complemented each other. Thank you, big brother Lu. I really benefited a lot. Xiaochen cupped his hands and thanked him sincerely. Lu Benwei smiled and nodded. You're too polite. Remember to come again tomorrow. Although Master didn't accept you as a disciple, you should know what this means, right? I understand, Xiaochen said softly. This meant that Shimu only could not get over the hurdle in his heart. Although he felt apologetic, he truly cherished Xiaoqin's talent and did not want him to be buried. The next day, Xiaoqin arrived at Fiend Cloud Hall on time. Then he sat beside Lu Benwei and listened to Shimu's teachings. After Shimu left, Xiaoqin started exchanging moves with Lu Ruyue. The two did not say anything. However, the tacit understanding between them didn't require too many words. Both of them could feel a strange feeling flowing in their hearts. Not only did their strengths improve significantly, but Lu Ruyue found this feeling strange. However, she did not want to embarrass herself by asking Xiaoqin about it. Xiaoqin was well aware of this, but he was unwilling to take the initiative to explain. Time flew by like water. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. In the past 5 years, the two of them had not spoken more than 3 sentences. Lu Ruyue gradually felt that the tacit understanding between the two of them had reached an incredible level. She felt that it was strange. But every time she saw Xiaoqin's calm expression, as if he was unwilling to say anything, she was a little angry, and recalled that he had once said that he already had someone he loved the most. His heart, which had been slightly moved, gradually cooled down and calmed down. 5 years. Just like that, Xiaoqin stayed in Fiend Cloud Hall, listening to Senior Shimu's teachings for 5 years. Lu Benwei even asked questions on his behalf, indirectly receiving countless pointers. Although they were not master and disciple in name, they were already master and disciple in reality. 5 years. He had spent 5 years to complete his Saber Dao. He relied on the Ice-Fire Divine Origin to raise his Ice Great Dao to the Ice Dao domain. 2 years ago, Xiaoqin grasped 3 Dao domains. However, he did not rush to form a divine seal to advance to half-step Sovereign Emperor. This was because Lu Benwei said that Xiaoqin had not merged his 3 Dao domains. If he forcefully formed a divine seal, it would result in an imperfect divine seal. Furthermore, this divine seal was the crux of forming a divine flame. If he rashly formed a divine seal, it would result in an imperfect divine seal. Xiaoqin's strength would soar rapidly. He might be happy for a while, but it would be over when he reached the Faux God realm. Following Lu Benwei's advice, Xiaoqin did not form a divine seal for the past 2 years, waiting for an opportunity. Counting the time, he had already been in the Faux God realm for 7 years. More than half of the 10 years had already passed. During the 5 years in Fiend Cloud Hall, aside from cultivating on the mountain, Xiaoqin would challenge the trial tower if Senior Shimu did not speak about the Dao. Right now, Xiaoqin no longer cared about breaking records. He only challenged the trial tower to test what he learned in the mountain. Although Xiaoqin did not have any intention of breaking records, he had already broken many records along the way. Now 2 people's names were the most eye-catching on the glory stele in front of the trial tower. One was Chu Chaoyan, and the other was the Heavenly Alliance's Xiaoqin. However, Xiaoqin heard that Chu Chaoyan had already advanced to Sovereign Emperor and left. Xiaoqin did not get a chance to meet him. On this particular day, Senior Shimu finished his lecture in Fiend Cloud Hall. As per usual, Xiaoqin and Lu Ruyue started exchanging moves. The two had interacted day and night for the past 5 years, and already had a tacit understanding with each other. Without saying anything, they both made their moves and started exchanging moves in Fiend Cloud Hall. At the side, Zhang Yushan and the other 2 showed helplessness in their eyes. This was especially so for Zhang Yushan, who felt rage in his helplessness. Back then, Zhang Yushan had endured 3 months in the Thunder Saber domain after much difficulty. Unexpectedly, he had to meet Xiaoqin again for a few years. What Zhang Yushan found even more unacceptable was that his first senior brother always sent him to exchange moves with Lu Ruyue. Now it was Xiaoqin. After some negotiation, Zhang Yushan wanted to send Xiaoqin away. However, when he learned that his first senior brother would teach him a lesson, he could not accept it. After making a fool of himself in front of everyone, he could only watch Xiaoqin exchange moves with Lu Ruyue. However, Zhang Yushan could not do anything about it, and could only watch helplessly. If not for wanting to listen to Shimu's lecture for the past 5 years, Zhang Yushan would have left long ago. When he saw Shimu every day, he felt frustrated. After watching for a while, Zhang Yushan took the lead to leave with a cold expression. Soon only Xiao Chun, Lu Ruyue, and Lu Benwei remained. After exchanging moves, Lu Ruyue surprisingly did not turn around and leave. She looked at Xiao Chun and said, "You should be about to form your divine seal, right?" Xiao Chun nodded and said, "If I want to, I can form my divine seal at any time." "In that case, quickly form your divine seal. The trial tower's 81st floor will open in 3 days. At that time, the people of the 5 super factions will participate. If you do not have the strength of a half-step sovereign emperor, you will be at a disadvantage." When Xiao Chun heard that, he felt it was strange. He knew that the trial tower's 81st floor was open. He was also prepared to form his divine seal within these 3 days and advance to half-step sovereign emperor. In reality, if he had only merged his Thunder Dao domain with his soul 5 years ago, he would have been able to form his divine seal. However, he waited for 3 years to form his third Dao domain. After that, he waited for 2 years to form his perfect divine seal. Now, as long as Xiao Chun wanted to, he could form his divine seal easily. He would not even need 15 minutes. Xiao Chun's accumulations were already extremely horrifying. He could form his divine seal with 1 Dao domain in the faux god world. Only outstanding talents dared to condense a divine seal with 2 Dao domains. Those who condensed 3 Dao domains like Xiao Chun were few and far between. Hence, Xiao Chun felt that Lu Ruyue's words were superfluous. What exactly was she trying to say? When Lu Ruyue heard that, she said, "Since you said that you can form your divine seal at any time, then do it now. I'll watch from here." Xiao Chun immediately revealed a strange expression as he looked at Lu Benwei. Lu Benwei waved his hand, not understanding what Xiao Chun meant. "What's wrong? Are you lying to me again?" Bitterness flashed on Lu Ruyue's face. Clearly, she still felt conflicted about Xiao Chun lying to her 5 years ago. When Xiao Chun saw Lu Ruyue like this, he could no longer hide his usual cool and indifferent expression. Xiao Chun's eyes turned somewhat moist as he smiled bitterly. However, this smile eventually turned into lofty sentiments. He said seriously, "Why would I lie to you? I said that I can break through at any time. So I can do so at any time." Right after Xiao Chun spoke, 3 different lights flowed around his body. One was purple, representing the Thunder Dao domain. One was white, representing the Ice Dao domain. The last one was the most dazzling, representing Xiao Chun's flawless Dao domain. With just a thought, the 3 Dao domains entered Xiao Chun's forehead and entered his soul pool, merging with the azure-colored dragon seal that represented his soul. There were no obstructions. Everything happened naturally. The Dao domains merged with his soul, continuously changing. When the changes stopped, a golden dragon seal appeared like it was alive. It contained a supreme dragon might and the sharpness of a saber. It was accompanied by lightning and snow in his soul pool. A perfect divine seal. The 3 mysterious phenomena perfectly merged with Xiao Chun's soul, appearing in his soul pool. This golden dragon seal was a perfect divine seal. Boom! A soaring saber intent erupted from Xiao Chun's body, illuminating the entire Fiend Cloud Hall. The mysterious phenomena in Xiao Chun's soul pool appeared, encasing the entire Fiend Cloud Hall. Zhang Yushan and the others, who were halfway down the mountain, looked up and saw this mysterious phenomenon. Their expressions changed drastically. 3 mysterious phenomena. 3 mysterious phenomena. This fellow really condensed a perfect mysterious phenomenon. Up in Fiend Cloud Hall, Xiao Chun withdrew the various mysterious phenomena back into his body with a thought. In just an instant, Xiao Chun underwent a rebirth, condensed his divine seal, and advanced to half-step sovereign emperor. His strength reached a horrifying level. It looked like success came naturally. However, only Lu Benwei, who accompanied Xiao Chun, knew the loneliness and accumulation he had to endure. For this moment, Xiao Chun had put in 7 years of hard work. Very good. The hidden bitterness on Lu Ruyue's face vanished, and she smiled. This was the first time she smiled before Xiao Chun in 5 years. This smile distracted Xiao Chun somewhat. When he startled to his senses, he only saw Lu Ruyue's back. Lu Benwei was about to congratulate Xiao Chun when he suddenly slapped himself on the head. I got confused. Today is the day junior sister Ruyue leaves the faux god world. Her tenure period is up. Chapter 2154. Before I leave, I will watch you advance to half-step sovereign emperor and seek some peace of mind. That is good. Zhang Yushan felt very happy, feeling the pent-up resentment in his heart for more than 5 years being released. However, what was the point? In the end, he could only watch the person he loved depart before his eyes. As for me, only then can I leave in peace. Damn it. Come, let's send off junior sister Lu. The two of us are stupid. To think that we forgot about such an important matter. She must be angry at us for not even remembering this. Zhang Yushan could not tell Lu Benwei or Lu Ruyue about this pain. He could only hide it in his heart and pretend to be cold. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen had formed a perfect divine seal. He immediately turned back, wanting to see if it was real or fake. This startled Lu Benwei into leaving quickly, somewhat flustered. Suddenly his eyes lit up, and he said, I'm really flustered. Go and look for Master. Master will definitely be able to save him. Since Lu Ruyue was not willing to say it, there was no need to force it. Xiao Chen's ice, lightning, and Dao domains also turned chaotic, uncontrollable. Lu Benwei stepped forward and checked Xiao Chen's pulse. He immediately panicked from fright. Xiao Chen came to the Great Thousand Realms to search for you. However, he ended up meeting her. Xiao Chen had even interacted with her day and night, but he felt wronged and lonely. No one could tell him about it. No one could understand his pain. Lu Benwei blamed himself. He turned around, wanting to give chase. However, when he looked back, he discovered that Lu Ruyue was long gone. It was just that no one knew what the story behind this was. Using it on Xiao Chen was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. However, when Lu Benwei sent Xiao Chen over, Xiao Chen was already on his last breath. Lu Benwei only knew that Xiao Chen had just broken through to half-step sovereign emperor, and his chances of survival were slim. A crack appeared in Xiao Chen's heart, and the veritable essence energy in his body turned chaotic. Uncontrollable veritable essence energy filled Xiao Chen's meridians. It was like a wild horse running amok in Xiao Chen's body. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ruyue waited. This wait lasted 5 years. On Xiao Chen's forehead, there was also a flame that contained divine might. It emitted a gentle light that enveloped Xiao Chen. Given Lu Ruyue's intelligence, how could she not guess the mysteries between the two of them after being together for 5 years? Xiao Chen's vitality was weakening bit by bit. Lu Benwei turned pale with fright. She turned to look at Xiao Chen, but just as she was about to speak, she realized that the latter's delicate face was frighteningly pale. Master, brother Xiao Chen, can he still be saved? A cold smile flashed in Zhang Yushan's eyes as he said, This Xiao Chen is crippled. He forcefully broke through and condensed a perfect divine seal, but he suffered a backlash. This is great. I reckon that even if Master is saved, he will be a cripple. Then what should we do? Helpless and heartbroken, he could only swallow it alone. If Xiao Chen had entered the Trial Tower's 81st floor as a heaven-defying sovereign personage, he would have been in great danger. Shimu did not answer. Instead, he said, Tell me everything that happened today. Lu Benwei asked as he looked at Shimu anxiously. Xiao Chen's body was as cold as ice at one moment, and incredibly hot at another. After a while, it felt like his entire body was filled with a sharp saber intent. Just a slight touch would leave wounds riddled in his body, and his palm would be covered in blood. When will he wake up? Since Xiao Chen saw Lu Ruyue in Fiend Cloud Hall, he had interacted with her day and night. Every time he saw her, his heart ached more, like a silver needle stabbing into his heart. Xiao Chen wanted to make a move and stabilize the veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body. He believed that given his cultivation, he should be able to do so easily. Of course, it was practically impossible for a bona fide faux god to lower his status to save someone. After Lu Benwei vanished, 3 people appeared in Fiend Cloud Hall. They were Zhang Yushan and the other 2. Little brother Xiao Chen, what's wrong? The answer to Zhang Yushan's question was a mouthful of blood. Without any warning, Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood and fell over. Even Shimu only had 1 portion. After using it, it was gone. After all, they were all junior brothers of the same sect. The 3 wondered if they should pretend to show concern to their master to gain a good impression. In the past 5 years, countless silver needles had been stabbed into Xiao Chen's chest and heart. Shimu did not think too much. He immediately took out the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment and pulled Xiao Chen back from the gates of hell. Lu Benwei could not dodge in time, and blood splashed all over him. By the time he recovered his wits, Xiao Chen had already fallen to the ground. Xiao Chen thought about it and agreed. After all, they had been together for so many years. Xiao Chen even forgot to send him off. How could he not be angry? However, Xiao Chen did not know what kind of heartache Xiao Chen had endured for the past 5 years. How could someone who had just advanced to half-step sovereign emperor have such a scary expression? That was Shimu's faux god flame. Shimu was not a doctor and did not understand much about it. He was not good at saving people. Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps forever. Lu Benwei immediately felt somewhat flustered. Clearly, something was wrong with Xiao Chen's current state. However, Xiao Chen could not say it. He did not dare to, and he could not. He could only grit his teeth and put on a stern face, pretending that nothing had happened. This stunned Xiao Chen. Then he suddenly understood. The trial tower's 81st floor was open. At that time, all the experts of the 5 super factions would appear. Some false emperors in closed-door cultivation would not miss out on this opportunity. Xiao Chen ignored the strangeness of Xiao Chen's physical body and picked him up, flying towards the clouds. Xiao Chen tried a few times, even trying to forcibly suppress Xiao Chen, but he suffered an intense backlash. If something went wrong, even if Xiao Chen did not die, he would die because of Xiao Chen. I already said long ago that this fellow is trash. To think that master gave him the inheritance painting, and we did not even let him take a look. Just thinking about it makes me angry. Xiao Chen did not know what cultivation technique Xiao Chen cultivated, but the veritable essence energy in his body was vast and heavy. At this moment, his veritable essence energy turned chaotic, like a group of demons dancing around. Even when they were about to leave, Xiao Chen still had no intention of saying anything, so Xiao Chen could only guess. However, when Lu Benwei actually started, he discovered that his thinking was too simple. At this moment, Xiao Chen lay on a jade bed, his entire body wrapped in white bandages. The bandages were covered with the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment that Shimu collected. This ointment was incredibly precious. Even if a faux god's physical body suffered fatal damage, it could recover it to its original state. Xiao Chen's expression immediately turned somewhat unsightly. He sighed softly. "Junior sister Lu, it looks like you are really angry." Xiao Chen's method was crude, but the effect was simple and crude. He was much more skilled than many peak doctors. Otherwise, the doctors of the Great Thousand Realms would not be able to survive. Xiao Chen once said that he had someone he loved the most, so he could only let his imagination run wild. Even if his heart burned with passion, he could only warn himself not to think about it. "Let's go and drink. We have to celebrate this matter." The trial tower's 81st floor 3 days from now has nothing to do with him. Now he suffered a backlash and is just a cripple. At that time, I can do whatever I want with him. These 3 were at the middle of the mountain. When they saw the mysterious phenomenon above Fiend Cloud Hall, they were shocked. However, Xiao Chen had really lied to Lu Riyue. He did have many things to say to her. Xiao Chen could fight a false emperor as a half-step sovereign emperor. When he became a sovereign emperor in the future, his strength would be immeasurable. After Lu Benwei finished speaking, Shimu entered deep thought. Every illness had a source. The source of Xiao Chen's illness was definitely Lu Riyue. His physical body is fine. He managed to preserve his life. However, even if a divine doctor were alive, he would not be able to save his heart. The heart pain that Xiao Chen had suppressed for 5 years erupted at this moment. At this moment, Xiao Chen felt an incredible heartache. The silver needles that were stuck in his heart for the past 5 years popped out one by one. The originally well-hidden wound immediately became riddled with holes. "Senior brother, what should we do now? Should we go over and show some concern? Damn it. What's going on?" Zhang Yushan scolded. "Concern my ass. I can't wait for him to die now. Master does not say it on the surface, but he is a true inheritor in his heart. First, senior brother takes good care of him. Even junior sister Ruyue has an ambiguous relationship with him. Just thinking about it makes me angry. If not for him appearing, the fiendish saber inheritance and junior sister Ruyue would be mine. I might be skilled in martial arts, but I can form a perfect divine seal with a thought. How could she feel such familiarity and warmth for a stranger for no reason? Pussy. Today was the day Lu Ruyue left the faux god world. Xiao Chen's heart ached. He could indeed advance to half-step sovereign emperor at any time. He had not lied to Lu Ruyue. However, Lu Ruyue did not know that she could advance to half-step sovereign emperor at any time, and wanted to personally witness it before she left. She could only use the most precious spirit herbs to stabilize Xiao Chen's physical injuries. Then, she used the faux god flame to forcibly suppress the chaotic veritable essence energy and great Tao in Xiao Chen's body. Even though Zhang Yushan's cultivation was much higher than Xiao Chen's, he did not dare to act rashly after his divine energy entered. After interacting with Xiao Chen for 5 years, Zhang Yushan clearly knew everything. However, he could not say it out loud. Zhang Yushan had not expected a perfectly fine person to be on the verge of death all of a sudden. Even though Lu Ruyue had lost all her memories, completely forgetting about Xiao Chen, the Sky Dome Realm, and Qingyun Mountain, Zhang Yushan could not lie to Zhang Yushan about the feeling of interacting with Xiao Chen. This is really delightful. You reap what you sow. Serves you right for forcing your breakthrough. Coincidentally, they saw the scene of Xiao Chen vomiting a mouthful of blood and barely breathing. Chapter 2155. Boom. Mu Zifeng had no choice but to come. The other super factions all had major characters holding down the fort. One of the most important points was the divine medicine that could extend the lives of real gods and empty god experts. Anyone who could obtain the divine medicine would die. Fiendish Saber Shimu's disciples spread the news. Then he checked and confirmed that Xiao Chen had not appeared. False emperors were horrifying existences that could refine divine energy. Unless a sovereign emperor appeared, no one could defeat them. The insufferably arrogant Feng Xiaobai, who stood beside Shimu, said, "Your Highness King Jin, I heard that Xiao Chen failed to form his perfect divine seal. Now it is unknown whether he is dead or alive. He will probably miss this trial tower." At the mention of Pan Huang, Shimu could not help recalling the sad matters of his clan. He shook his head and sighed before turning to leave. It would be a great pity for the sovereign personages in the faux god world if they missed this opportunity. Xiao Hozun said, "That's right. With our status, there is no need to keep competing with a mixed blood dragon. These princes and the noble clans of the dynasty are our true opponents. In the past, Xiao Chen really lowered our statuses. As long as one obtained a 10,000-year-old herb king, one would obtain a great reward. Aside from that, there were many rare divine materials and all sorts of natural treasures in that paradise. Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps forever." Shimu revealed a contemplative expression. Then he muttered, "The pain reached its peak, and the heart no longer hurts?" On this particular day, many people gathered around the trial tower in the Holy Domain's divine capital. It did not matter whether the Heavenly Alliance ranked last or not. The Heavenly Alliance did not rely on outstanding talents to establish itself. Who is Xiao Chen? Strange. Why can't the crack in his heart heal? There is clearly a crack, but the life force in his heart is incredibly strong. There is no problem at all. Strange, strange. The only ones that could be sent out were Gongzi Lan, Wu Meng, and Mou. However, these three were only half-step sovereign emperors. What was a herb king? The opening of the trial tower's 81st floor was a great test to see which superfaction could come out on top. This also represented their strength and status. After Xiao Chen suffered a backlash when he formed his divine seal, he would have one less strong opponent. This time he could only be at the bottom, but it didn't matter. Fiendish Saber Shimu's words were somewhat vague, making it hard for Lu Benwei to calm down. He said seriously, "Master, there are still 3 more days before the trial tower's 81st floor opens. If Xiao Chen cannot make it in time, he will be at a disadvantage." Then Shimu's eyes lit up as he looked at the sleeping Xiao Chen, who was wrapped in white cloth. Then he revealed an expression of admiration. Lu Benwei was slightly startled when he heard that. Obviously, he had still underestimated the seriousness of the matter. But who could have imagined that such a thing would happen? Originally, Xiaochen planned to participate in the 81st floor's trial after advancing to half-step sovereign emperor. They smiled and nodded at each other, but each of them had their own strengths and were secretly competing with each other. Feng Xiaobai said softly, "It's fine. I hope to take revenge myself." Lu Benwei said, "Brother Xiaochen seems to have a martial technique called heartbreaking style. Every time he used this technique, his chest would crack open. The pain stimulated his entire body's potential to deliver a sure-kill strike. However, he rarely used it. I heard that when he practiced this cultivation technique to the peak, his heart would no longer feel pain." Chu Feng said indifferently, "No wonder I did not see anyone in the Heavenly Alliance that I cared about. How unfortunate. This king was prepared to help you vent your anger. It looks like I can only wait for the future." After seeing the heartbreaking style, Shimu no longer worried about whether Xiaochen could wake up. This is a great opportunity. To think that this fellow ruined it. Xiao Hozun, who had already advanced to false emperor, appeared somewhat disappointed. However, some joy flashed in his heart. This person was the Tianwu dynasty's prince conferred the title of King Jin Chu Feng. This piece of information was most likely accurate. Lu Benwei felt somewhat anxious, but he could not do anything. If his master could save him, he would have done so long ago. Any spirit herb that surpassed 1,000 years of lifespan and lived to 10,000 years could be called a herb king. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Be it the Bushan Palace, the Primal Chaos Palace, or the other superfactions, their peak outstanding talents had already become sovereign emperors and left. However, there were still many false emperors remaining. Only sovereign personages could enter. This was an opportunity for the disciples of the various superfactions. The disciples of the Heavenly Alliance, the Profound Heaven Holy Land, the Universe Origin Sect, the Hidden Spirit Temple, and the Bushan Palace. 5 superfactions gathered here. With a glance, there were at least 1,000 people. Shimu's pale face revealed some doubt. That person is already crippled. This time we have to pay more attention to the Profound Heaven Holy Land, the Bushan Palace, and the Hidden Spirit Temple's group of Baldies. As long as we obtain a fortuitous encounter in paradise and leave the faux god world, the two of us will be able to move unhindered among the younger generation. This was sincere admiration. This Xiaochen's talent in the Saber Dao surpassed his own. In the blink of an eye, it fell apart. The great paradise no longer existed. Shimu said coldly, "You are still thinking about paradise? You are rather optimistic. If he does not wake up, he really will not wake up. At that time, even if he recovers from his injuries, he will just be a walking dead." Master, what should we do with little brother Xiaochen?" However, Xiaochen, whom Shimu valued the most, did not appear. He heard that Xiaochen suffered a backlash when he tried to condense a perfect divine seal, crippling him. Due to the seal, it would be extremely difficult for faux gods and sovereign emperors to enter this paradise. This person was the Heavenly Alliance's Lord Mu Zifeng. The opening of the Trial Tower's 81 floors concerned the prestige of the various superfactions. The Trial Tower's 81 floors were mysterious and unfathomable. Ordinary people would be done for after reaching the 80th floor. After Shimu spoke, he stepped forward. A divine light appeared in his eyes as he prodded Xiaochen's chest with one hand. Only some of the older generation knew that the 81 floors connected to a herb field known as paradise. Not only could one obtain many rewards, but the superfaction they belonged to would also be greatly rewarded. Just at this moment, a person wearing luxurious robes embroidered with the Universe Origin True Flame and a golden sash appeared at the Universe Origin Palace's location. He gave off a noble air, clearly showing off his noble status. With one look, it was clear that this was a member of the Tianwu dynasty's royal clan. However, the concept of a divine herb was too vague. In the past 100,000 years, only one divine herb had been found in this paradise. As long as the Heavenly Alliance could not be destroyed and rise to the ranks of a super faction, it would be sufficient. The Heavenly Alliance had gathered all the merchant associations in the world and held boundless wealth. If the Heavenly Alliance's cultivators grew stronger and revealed their tyrannical aura, it would not be a good thing. If they advanced to Faux God in the future, they might become the second Pan Huang. Aside from the Universe Origin Palace's people, the profound Heaven Holy Lands Mu Yunju and the Bushin Palaces by Yunfei and Xiao Hozun also felt somewhat disappointed. That was a paradise that had existed in this primal chaos space before the heavenly realm shattered. Unfortunately, when the heavenly realm shattered, this paradise suffered a destructive blow. At the place where the Heavenly Alliance disciples gathered, the leader was a person as handsome as a painting, dressed in embroidered robes. A total of 6 of the 7 plum blossoms on his chest were lit up. The center of the flower looked like snow, and the petals were inlaid with golden threads. This exuded nobility and pride, not tacky at all. Mu Zifeng was not in a good mood. The Heavenly Alliance's Grim Reaper Lin Feng was in closed-door cultivation, unable to come out. The Holy Lord, the Holy Domain's divine capital, the divine capital's Holy Lord. Mu Zifeng thought to himself, the Heavenly Alliance has too few outstanding talents. The main reason is that its accumulations cannot compare to the other factions. Mu Zifeng was more worried about Xiaochen. He did not know how Xiaochen was doing. The opening of Paradise was like a great test for the various super factions, as well as a competition. Bai Yunfei smiled happily as he spoke softly. The only thing that could be discovered in Paradise was the 10,000-year-old Herb King. Above that, the 81st floor was not open. Heartbreaking stance. How could someone with such boldness be trapped in a maze? I believe that he will be able to come out. Mu Zifeng's expression changed slightly as he looked at the top of the trial tower, at the mysterious masked person. Then he said, Holy Lord. At that time, all the super faction disciples in the Faux God world, who had not advanced to Sovereign Emperor, would have to enter. However, no one knew when Xiaochen would wake up. Shimu stretched out his hand and waved, retrieving the Faux God flame on Xiaochen's forehead. Then he sighed softly, stand guard here. His physical injuries are no longer a problem. Hey! Suddenly, a mighty aura came from the True God Palace. In the next moment, the mighty aura spread out in all directions, putting heavy and majestic pressure on everyone present. Only some of the remaining true gods made a move and protected a rather large piece of paradise. They sealed it in the trial tower's 81st floor and modified it into a land of trials. Chapter 2156. The Holy Lord was the master of the Holy Domain's divine capital. Rumor had it that he possessed the strength of a true god. However, he had never revealed his true cultivation, making it hard for others to fathom. The 5 super factions all revered this person. However, this person only appeared in the Faux God world, never in the Great Thousand Realms. Rumor had it that time flowed too quickly in the Great Thousand Realms. He could only extend his life in the Faux God world. This person no longer cared about mundane matters. Now, even the Holy Domain's divine capital was managed by the 5 super factions. He would not ask about anything. The Holy Lord was mysterious and low profile, so low profile that others overlooked his existence. However, when he appeared, everyone revered him, suddenly remembering that he was the true master of the Holy Domain's divine capital. At the top floor of the trial tower, the Holy Lord wore a mask, hiding his appearance and expression. The reason why he had appeared at this moment was because he was the only one who could open the 81st layer that sealed paradise. Greetings, Holy Lord. Everyone revered the Holy Lord. The powerhouses of the various super factions performed cupped fist salutes. The Holy Lord nodded slightly. Then he stretched out a hand and gently tapped the air. A spot of black light appeared. In that instant, the black light expanded into a black whirlpool. It looked like a black hole that could suck in one's soul essence, appearing very mysterious. Soon, this black hole expanded continuously, turning into a huge whirlpool. The people present all felt somewhat anxious and nervous. Paradise was filled with many uncertainties. No one knew what fortuitous encounter they would obtain in the end. It was this uncertainty that filled everyone with anxiety and anticipation. The disciples of the 5 super factions, Bushin Palace, the Profound Heaven Holy Land, the Hidden Spirit Temple, the Universe Origin Sect, and the Heavenly Alliance, All stared at the black hole like they were possessed. The seal has already been opened. If there is any danger, everyone can withdraw at any time. The Holy Lord's aged voice rang out. Then he withdrew silently, his whereabouts unknown. Perhaps he had already gone to the true God Palace. Or perhaps he was hiding somewhere, watching with the crowd. Go then. Whoosh! No one knew who started it, but the false emperors of the various super factions took the lead, unwilling to fall behind, wanting to be the first to enter paradise. The Heavenly Alliance's people were at the very end, slightly inferior. Those who could enter the Void God realm were all elites among elites. Everyone here was an elite among elites. In the Great Thousand Domains, they could all be called heavenly geniuses. The scene of over 1,000 outstanding talents moving out at the same time was truly spectacular. This was especially so for the leaders. They were all false emperors infinitely close to divine Vane Realm sovereign emperors. All of them showed off their sharpness, looking boundlessly elegant. Mu Zifeng looked around, and revealed some helplessness in his eyes. Originally, he thought that he might be able to see Xiaochen appear at the last moment. But now, it seemed that the rumor about Xiaochen's injury was indeed true. Looks like that kid is really crippled. Mu Yunju had not moved at all. His sharp eyes flashed like lightning as he stared at the surroundings. As long as Xiaochen revealed a trace of his aura, he would be able to detect it in an instant. For this day he had waited for a very, very long time. For more than 5 years, every day felt like a year. Every day was doubled in bitter cultivation. Mu Yunju had been waiting for the day when he could openly trample on Xiaochen. After the events of 5 years ago in the Ice-Fire Wasteland spread, Mu Yunju, by Yunfei, and the others became the laughingstock of the Faux God World's disciples. Many half-step sovereign emperors, princes of various empires, and noble clan scions had been fooled by a Heavenly Alliance disciple. Paradise was an excellent opportunity for Mu Yunju to prove himself. However, Xiaochen did not show up. Damn it. I finally managed to condense divine energy after much difficulty, and you actually lost just like that. Mu Yunju cursed in his heart, unable to wait for Xiaochen. Then his figure flashed, and a profound light filled the air as he flew towards the entrance. Like Mu Yunju, Bai Yunfei, Xiao Hozun, and Fang Xiaobai waited for a long time before flying towards the black whirlpool in disappointment. Fiend Cloud Hall. A person lay on the white jade bed where fiendish saber Shimu cultivated. This person's body was covered in bandages, including his face. Only a pair of tightly shut eyes could be seen. A faint medicinal fragrance spread throughout the entire room. That was the fragrance of the Primal Chaos Heaven Replenishing Ointment on the bandages. The Primal Chaos Heaven Replenishing Ointment could allow a faux god to reconstruct the physical body. Yet it was used on a sovereign personage. If others saw this, they would definitely exclaim how unfortunate it was for wasting a heavenly treasure. Lu Benwei sat cross-legged outside the white jade bed, cultivating with his eyes closed. Whoosh! Suddenly, without any warning, Xiaochen opened his eyes. Xiaochen's eyes appeared listless as he stared at the ceiling. He looked like he had just woken up from a dream, or like he had yet to savor the gentleness of the dream. Xiaochen did not move for a long time. He had a dream. He dreamed of returning to Qingyan Peak. The beautiful days of the past appeared in his dream. Dreams were wondrous, like the most fragrant wine, intoxicating and infatuating. In the mirage of the wine cup light, Xiaochen only hoped that he would never wake up, that the night would never end, that dawn would never come. He continued drinking like that. However, Xiaochen was awake in the dream. The hand that held the wine cup trembled forever. Because of pain. Even the most beautiful dream in the world could not make Xiaochen smile happily, or ease the pain in his heart. After Xiaochen drank enough wine and saw enough of his memories, he opened his eyes and returned to reality. What is the point of all my martial arts? Xiaochen, who had been watching coldly in the dream, already had an answer. All my martial arts were hope, persistence, and struggle. Without these martial arts, I would not even have met Lu Ruyue. My heart would have turned to ashes. Compared to heartache and heartbreak, a heart of ashes was more despairing. At least I still have a dream, a goal to strive for and pursue. Many people in this world do not even have a goal. For example, fiendish saber Shimu. He was a peak foe god with all his martial arts. However, his heart died long ago. Sparks slowly lit up in Xiao Chen's listless eyes. A strong fighting spirit surged in his heart. Then, he clenched his right fist tightly, and a determined light appeared in his eyes. Whoosh! Lu Benwei, who was at the side, seemed to sense this gaze, so he suddenly opened his eyes. Indeed, it was Xiao Chen. He had already woken up. Xiao Chen looked at the bandages on his hands and body. After some thought, he wanted to tear them off. You can't do that. You have not completely absorbed this primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment yet. You cannot tear them off now. The internal injuries this time are even more damaging to your body than berserking chi deviation. If not for Master giving you the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment, you would not have recovered so quickly. Lu Benwei's voice rang out, stopping Xiao Chen. The primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment? No wonder. No wonder Xiao Chen felt like he was in a medicinal spring. His entire body felt warm and indescribably comfortable. Where is Senior? Xiao Chen felt warmth in his heart. He wanted to find Shi Mu and thank him. Lu Benwei smiled and said, "Given Master's temper, I don't think he will see you. It's good that you woke up. Back then, I nearly thought that you would never wake up again." When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt somewhat guilty. He said apologetically, "Many thanks, Big Brother Lu, for saving my life." Although Shi Mu had saved Xiao Chen, he would have died in his state at that time without Lu Benwei. "How many days was I asleep?" Xiao Chen asked. "Exactly 3 days." Perhaps this was the will of the heavens. Perhaps Xiao Chen never thought of giving up from the start to the end. He had always remembered Paradise's trial in the depths of his heart. If Xiao Chen did not wake up on this day, he would truly give up. He would never wake up again, remaining a coward his entire life. If Xiao Chen did not even believe in his martial arts, what was the point of living? Xiao Chen believed that one day, he would return to the Divine Dragon Empire and take back everything he lost. He was filled with pride and would never give up. "Can I make it in time?" Xiao Chen did not say when, but Lu Benwei naturally understood what Xiao Chen meant. After some thought, he said, "Logically speaking, there is no hope. The passageway that the Holy Lord opened is slowly shrinking. However, I have a way. Come with me." Xiao Chen got off the bed and wanted to put on the alloy battle armor. However, he helplessly discovered that the bandages mixed with the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment covered him in layers. There was no way to put on alloy gloves. He could not even use his storage ring. Once he used it, it would tear the bandages, causing the bandages to tear and the medicinal effects to leak out. Left without a choice, Xiao Chen picked up the white bedsheet and casually wrapped it around himself like a cloak. Strong winds howled at the summit of the mountain where the clouds were like a sea. Strong winds blew as Xiao Chen wrapped himself in bandages. The bedsheet swayed in the strong wind, looking rather strange. However, Lu Benwei did not care. He pointed into the distance of the cloud sea and said, "Do you see that? That is the entrance to the Paradise True Body." Xiao Chen looked over and saw a frightening black hole in the distance. It was like a black dot appearing at the limits of his vision. That black hole was shrinking bit by bit. With his speed, he would not be able to reach it before it ended. Who is the fastest in the Great Thousand Realms? The Great Rock. That's right. Have you heard of the saying? The Great Rock soars with the wind one day, soaring for 45,000 kilometers? Where does this wind come from? I once traveled outside and obtained an ancient inheritance called Great Gale Force. Only then did I realize that without wind, the Great Rock cannot fly. I have never tested this palm technique before. There are many space-time tears at the summit of this mountain range. I cannot guarantee that you can pass through safely. Do you dare to receive this palm strike of mine? Lu Benwei looked at Xiao Chen, secretly storing up power. He knew the answer in Xiao Chen's heart, and was just waiting for him to speak. "Do you think that I will give up? Ha ha ha. In that case, I will give you the power of the Great Rock to help you ride the wind." Lu Benwei reared his head back and laughed, his laughter shaking the sky. A strong wind howled like a horrifying wave, and a boundless aura gathered behind him. This wind seemed like it would flip over the sky and ground. Big wind, force. An even more boundless howl resounded in the vast world. accompanied by an ancient and shocking roar. Lu Benwei's palm strike landed on Xiao Chen's body. Boom! Xiao Chen instantly entered the cloud sea. The vast cloud sea was boundlessly vast. Xiao Chen was like a drop of rain entering it, not causing any ripples at all. However, suddenly the world shook. Even the holy domain's divine capital started shaking. The many foe gods could not help looking over. Their expressions changed. They saw the sky turn pitch black, and a strong aura charged at the trial tower. A great rock. This startled several foe gods. When they looked over, they thought that a great rock really appeared in the foe god world. Then, a figure flew out of the vast cloud sea. This figure wore a white cloak and spread his arms, looking like a great rock covering the sky. He carried an overwhelming aura. In the blink of an eye, this figure crossed 5 million kilometers. Just as the black whirlpool was about to close, he turned into a beam of flowing light. He turned into a streak of light, carrying pride and stubbornness. Wrapped in a bedsheet, he rushed in, ignoring the gazes of the world. The great rock soared with the wind, soaring 45,000 kilometers. Chapter 2157. The great rock soared with the wind, flying 45,000 kilometers. Just as that black entrance was about to close, Xiao Chen's figure flashed in. What speed! It looked like a bedsheet just now. Did it enter paradise? It was not a bedsheet. Someone barged in while wearing a bedsheet. Did someone barge in? That should not be the case. If one's cultivation surpassed sovereign personage, one would not be able to barge in. It should be a sect disciple, but I do not know which sect. Did anyone see it clearly? That beam of light earlier carried the aura of a Kuan Peng as it flew over. It was so fast that it shocked the foe gods. The foe gods reacted only after a while. If it were a sovereign emperor, they would not even have seen the beam of light. They would only have sensed a strong aura. Lu Benwei's great gale force was simply stunning, helping Xiao Chen greatly. Whoosh! The instant the black whirlpool turned into a black dot and vanished, a huge light screen appeared above the trial tower, showing the scene of paradise. What a strange person! Why is he wrapped in a bedsheet? Is he not wearing any clothes? Mu Zifeng found this somewhat strange, feeling confused. It was not just Mu Zifeng. The other foe gods did not know what was going on either. When they saw Xiao Chen's figure on the light screen, they all showed strange expressions. It was like this person had a strange fetish. They looked like they were looking at a weirdo. Haha. I wonder which sect's disciple is from? His entrance is rather scary. A foe god powerhouse from the profound heaven holy land said with a smile, his tone filled with mockery. The powerhouses of the various super factions all secretly asked around to see if this person was from their sect. After obtaining a positive answer, they heaved a sigh of relief. Lord Mu, this strange person should not be from our heavenly alliance. If he is, he would definitely be wearing the alloy battle armor, a heavenly alliance subordinate said after arriving beside Mu Zifeng. Mu Zifeng nodded slightly and heaved a sigh of relief. Although cultivators paid particular attention to being unrestrained and unrestrained, it was too much for someone to come out wrapped in a bedsheet. However, it was a little too much to come out wrapped in a bedsheet. It was easy for people to see it as a joke. At some point in time, Shimu appeared beside Lu Benwei at Fiend Cloud Hall. He frowned and said, "What a scandal! Can't you lend him some clothes?" Now that Lu Benwei thought about it, he felt embarrassed. He smiled bitterly and said, "I was in a rush, so I forgot." Shimu sighed. This little fellow is too impatient. Let's see how he performs first. In paradise, the disciples of the various clans had arrived long ago. Be it false emperors or heaven-defying sovereign personages, they did not move rashly. They carefully sized up their surroundings. Regardless of how strong he was, it was better to be safe than sorry. He had to familiarize himself with the environment first. But just as they were sizing up their surroundings, a streak of light flew past. Xiao Chen, who had slowed down a lot but was still very fast, streaked over their heads. In an instant, the elites of the 5 super forces were dumbfounded. The person in front of them was wrapped in white gauze from head to toe, revealing only a pair of eyes. He wasn't wearing anything other than a bedsheet. It was hard to imagine who would dress up so strangely. Where did this lunatic come from? Bai Yunfei asked with a frown. He could not think of anyone who could match this person. Of course, he would not connect it to Xiaochen. In Bai Yunfei's impression, Xiaochen always wore white clothes or battle armor. His aura was completely different from the bedsheet-clad person before him. At the side, Xiahou found it strange as well. After some thought he said, "This fellow is somewhat strange. Later, go and test him out. See if we are wary of him." Yes. The other Bushan Palace disciples nodded. Right now, both Xiahou and Bai Yunfei had advanced to False Emperor. They were the leaders of the Bushan Palace disciples. No one dared to disobey them. Bai Yunfei waved his hand and said, "Brother Xiahou, who do you think it is?" Xiahou entered deep thought. Then he shook his head and said, "I did not expect the 5 super factions to not be able to think of a corresponding person. This is really strange. One did not fear a strong and undefeatable enemy. One only feared an unfathomable enemy who did not play by the rules. The people of the profound Heaven Holy Land, the Hidden Spirit Temple, the Universe Origin Sect, and the Heavenly Alliance all showed strange expressions as they looked at Xiaochen in confusion. They all showed expressions of confusion, wondering if a super faction was purposely trying to mislead them. Boom. The speed was too fast. Xiaochen could not control his body and landed on a mountain peak. Fortunately, Xiaochen did his best to control the impact. Otherwise, the entire mountain peak would have crumbled. Xiaochen waved his hand and scattered the dust. Then he looked around and discovered that everyone was in a vast herb field. Paradise had been modified into a land of trials over the boundless passage of time. Sealed in the trial tower's 81st floor. The first stage of this trial was to search for spirit herbs. Whoever found the most spirit herbs would be the winner. The strong would be able to obtain herb kings. One might even be able to find legendary divine herbs. Of course, that was extremely unlikely. No one harbored any hope. Being able to obtain a 10,000-year-old herb king was already pretty good. However, rumor said that one could not remain in this herb field for too long. This could be considered the first stage of the trial. After a certain amount of time, one had to leave quickly and head to the next stage. The baleful aura is very heavy. Under the layers of gauze, only Xiaochen's eyes could be seen. However, he could still sense the strangeness of the surroundings. Baleful aura and death chi filled the turbid air. Corpses and bones littered the herb field. Back then, when the heavenly realm shattered, rumor had it that an intense battle had happened in paradise. After tens of thousands of years, the baleful aura did not scatter. This paradise had already turned into a land of danger. This was the reason why everyone did not act rashly while they were in the herb field. While the herb field looked desolate and peaceful, no one knew what dangers hid. No one dared to be careless. As Xiaochen sized up the mountain peak, he saw a vast herb field with no end in sight. The sky was chaotic. There were 2 extreme energies mixed together, pulling on each other as they slowly circulated. One of the energies was filled with spirituality, like immortal qi, pure and without any impurities. In the past, paradise must have been filled with such pure immortal qi, which allowed it to nurture a vast and boundless herb field. The other energy was extremely turbid, filled with filth, baleful aura, death qi, baleful aura, and resentment. All sorts of terrifying auras formed a turbid demonic qi. The baleful aura and death qi in the air of this vast herb field all came from this. The 2 energies filled the sky, looking like ink entangling with each other, forming a strange sky. Don't care about that strange person. Quickly start moving. We do not have much time. After familiarizing themselves with the herb field's environment, the super disciples of the various factions could no longer hold back and started searching. The 10,000-year-old herb kings here all turned into spirits. Without some special means, it would be impossible to find them. Let's start as well. Mu Yunju withdrew his gaze from Xiaochen. After some thought, he led the profound Heaven Holy Land disciples to search the herb field. Attack. Once you discover a 10,000-year-old herb king, immediately send out a signal. Do not let anyone out. The Universe Origin Sect's Chu Feng shouted coldly, appearing extremely tyrannical. Then he got the universe origin sect disciples to scatter. The boundless herb field was filled with fertile black soil and baleful aura. Aside from spirit herbs, there were also many flourishing weeds and trees. There were all sorts of strange things in the forest. It would not be easy to find spirit herbs here. However, the various super factions were clearly prepared. The universe origin sect disciples all held clumps of flames in their hands. When they encountered spirit herbs, they would get excited. When they encountered weeds and other plants that turned into spirits, they would get frustrated. The Bushin Palace's people formed groups of 2 or 3. The leader controlled a spirit-devouring rat with an extremely strong sense of smell. Even the Heavenly Alliance members were prepared. No one came empty-handed. Only Xiaochun, who was wrapped in bandages and a bedsheet, looked at the herb field helplessly. I have to think of a way. This is too disadvantageous for me. Xiaochun frowned slightly. Then he tried to see if he could take out some secret treasures from the storage rings. In the end, he discovered that this was somewhat difficult. The bandages containing the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment would definitely tear. Xiaochun had not recovered from his injuries yet. He did not want to leave behind any future problems, so he needed to absorb all of the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment's medicinal energy. I got it. All things rejoiced together. A bright light flashed in Xiaochun's eyes. He had absorbed a drop of fiend blood. Back then, he had been able to refine the ice-fire divine origin. He had relied on this drop of fiend blood to explore the entire ice-fire wastelands underground. Perhaps he could do the same now. Chapter 2158. Many spirit herbs hidden in the black soil gave off a dazzling spiritual light that others could not see. Xiaochun could not open the bandage-covered storage rings. However, he could put some things in. Xiaochun leaped down from the peak and formally entered the herb field in paradise. With one look, Xiaochun knew that this black light contained extraordinary might and dense death qi. One of them looked at Xiaochun, who was wrapped in bandages and bedsheets, not daring to underestimate him. The skeleton on the throne must have been a supreme god sovereign, or an ancient demonic sovereign who died in the great war between righteous factions and demonic factions 100,000 years ago. Pooh. However, Firmament's Rage was a Dragon's Gate secret technique executed by combining the 5-element divine lightning with the Thunder Great Tao and the flawless Tao domain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Divine Firmament 9 variations, traceless lightning shadow. A hoarse wail rang out. The sword formation collapsed, and the colossal cyclops tree shook violently. Rumble. The surrounding 5,000 kilometers shook intensely. Even the world trembled. Come out then. The true spirit herbs were hidden in the soil. Not only were they difficult to find, but they could also easily run into danger if they were not careful. Whoosh! Xiaochun swept his gaze around, and his figure started to move. He cautiously looked in all directions. Xiaochun grunted, and the rebound knocked him back. His palm left the ground as he stood up. I hope it works. The herb field in the Heaven Dragon Palace and the secret realm that the third palace master managed were filled with spirit herbs. That is, although Xiaochun had been interrupted earlier, he had memorized the locations of the spirit herbs hidden in the depths of the black soil with a single glance. He left behind a faint purple mark as he rushed towards the cyclops tree. Instantly, thousands of tree branches fell. Immediately, thousands of tree branches danced around like demons, wielding deadly sabers and swords, instantly launching thousands of attacks. When the boundless ice flame landed on the colossal cyclops tree, it immediately started burning. A flickering candle flame burned in each of Xiaochun's eyes. A candle dragon head appeared behind him, and it opened its eyes at the same time. Die. As a result, there were many rough trees and flowers growing in the herb field. At a glance, it was full of weeds. Their concealment technique was exceptionally ingenious. If not for the Cyclops tree's intense struggle earlier, allowing him to sense some unusual fluctuations, he would not have been able to discover these 3 people. Xiaochun flew forward. The instant the 10,000 dragons picture appeared behind him, he punched the one-eyed tree with the supreme dragon fist. Firmament's Rage. The The sharp light turned into a gust of wind and blew towards Xiao Chen's face. The bedsheets tied around Xiao Chen's body fluttered like a cloak. It was as though he was shuttling through a sword array. This sword array looked chaotic, but it actually contained some sort of Dao charm. This was a secret technique that the giant Cyclops tree had comprehended on its own. If anyone disdained it, they would be turned into a hornet's nest on the spot. As the spear thrust forward, the light that erupted out made the expressions of the Hound Lion Empire's three change slightly. They felt their auras and Dao domains instantly suppressed. The environment of the herb field before Xiao Chen was somewhat complicated. There was spiritual energy that was as pure as immortal qi as well as extremely filthy demonic qi. However, Xiao Chen did not get careless from the start. He only brought out his flawless Dao domain and moved like a phantom. Xiao Chen did not make any movements, but the bedsheets wrapped around him fluttered, looking as dazzling as a saber light. Instead, it was covered in baleful qi and death qi. Ordinary people would run far away from it, and would not linger around it. Xiao Chen showed a grave expression as he slowly activated the fiend blood in his palm. Immediately, the bandage wrapped around his palm gave off a faint red light. A strong wind blew, instantly scattering the roaring aura of an ancient ferocious beast. A saber light flickered and clashed with the three-sword intents, easily blocking them. A trace of horror appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. There was actually a terrifying existence underground. However, that sharpness continued to thrust forward relentlessly. It was like it could pierce through their chests in the next moment. Boom! Seeing that the sword array could not deal any damage to Xiao Chen, the spiral eye on the trunk suddenly shot out a beam of black light. Xiao Chen casually untied the bedsheet and grabbed one of the branches. Then he exerted some force and swept it. Bang! The mountain-like cyclopean tree turned into ashes with one punch from Xiao Chen. It turned into ice shards that drifted down like gray snow. Xiao Chen did not turn around. His voice came out through the bandage around his mouth, sounding somewhat hoarse and scary. Xiao Chen's eyes immediately lit up with joy. Indeed, it worked. After verifying that there was no one around, Xiao Chen bent over and touched the black soil with his bandaged hand. Furthermore, this was just an insignificant 10,000-year-old fiend king. Xiao Chen clenched his right hand and completely extinguished its ferocious nature. 500,000 kilometers below, Xiao Chen suddenly discovered piles of corpses. These corpses had existed for an unknown number of years. There were humans, demonic beasts, great desolate Aeon ferocious beasts, Asuras, flood dragon humans, Rakshasa demons. All he saw were corpses. There were even many spirit herbs that looked like weeds growing on the surface. However, the ones buried underground were 1,000-year-old spirit herbs. Thousands of tree branches started dancing like treasured sabers being unsheathed, showing their sharpness. Tree branches were cut in half by the saber light and fell down like rain and snow. Xiao Chen moved unimpeded through the sword array of tree branches, approaching the cyclopean tree. It looked like a patch of wild grass. Whoosh! In the next moment, the scene before Xiao Chen changed. The black soil under his feet seemed transparent. Whoosh! 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 Candle dragon eyes. The spiral patterns on the trunk gave off a faint light, flickering like a ferocious beast opening its demonic eye. Whoosh! His Highness was right. You are somewhat strange. To think that you can use your own means to detect spirit herbs. The countless corpses were either prostrating on the ground or kneeling on one knee. None of them dared to get up before this skeleton throne. The Hound Lion Empire was one of the 8 empires controlled by the Bushin Palace. These 3 people should be Xiao Hozun's subordinates. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Xiao Chen arrived at a flat piece of land and stopped. In front of him was a towering black tree. The spiral patterns on the trunk looked like the eyes of a ferocious beast. The withered tree branches were like the claws of a ferocious beast, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. Xiao Chen continued looking. 5 kilometers, 50 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers. Xiao Chen discovered more and more corpses. The joy in his eyes grew even more intense. It looks like I cannot stay in this herb field for long. After alarming these corpses, I have to leave quickly. I have to move quickly as well. Whoosh! 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 Xiao Chen tilted his body slightly and dodged the black light, not waiting for the cyclopean tree to do anything. Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. If this cyclopean tree was really strong, it would have attacked directly instead of endangering him first. 3 figures appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. They were the Hound Lion Empire's people. With one look, Xiao Chen could tell that this tree was not a spirit herb and could not produce spirit fruits. The 10,000-year-old Herb King, Ice Cloud Nation, struggled desperately in Xiao Chen's hand, trying to break free. At this moment, the 3 finally realized how terrifying Xiao Chen was. Horror flashed in their hearts. They could no longer care about anything else, so they turned around and fled. Run. Boundless electric light tore through the sky, and the flawless Dao domain spread out. 3 extremely terrifying auras of ancient ferocious beasts answered Xiao Chen's question. Hidden in the overwhelming auras were 3 cold sword intents, as scary as hungry wolves. Whoosh! The cyclopean tree was already dead. However, Xiao Chen did not stop. With a flip of his hand, he threw a palm strike. A beam of spiritual light charged out of the ground, looking like it purposely charged into the towering hand. Before it could react, Xiao Chen grabbed it. This black light could be said to be extremely abrupt. As long as someone was slightly distracted by the sword formation, they would definitely be hit. Xiao Chen snorted coldly. Then he pulled off the bedsheet and shook it gently. The bedsheet gathered and appeared in his hand like a spear. Then he thrust it forward. Many 10,000-year-old herb kings appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. He even discovered some 100,000-year-old herb kings and 1,000,000-year-old herb kings. When Xiao Chen turned around, the bedsheet wrapped around Xiao Chen like a cloak again. This was somewhat different from an ordinary herb field. The more you put on an act, the more it proves your cowardice. Dang, dang, dang. Then it hung on a tree branch, weathered by the wind and rain, turning into a dried corpse. After stopping struggling, Xiao Chen looked at it for a while and gave up on consuming it immediately, tossing it into his storage ring. However, Xiao Chen knew that a 10,000-year-old herb king, the ice cloud fruit, grew under the tree. What was truly shocking was that the corpses buried deep underground were all prostrating themselves. You discovered my secret, yet you are still not running. In that case, none of you can leave. Given Xiao Chen's current state, the consequences would be unimaginable if he came in contact with it. Although the disciples of the various major factions had already started searching for spirit herbs, it was better to be safe than sorry. Before activating the fiend blood, Xiao Chen still had to be cautious. Now that Xiao Chen comprehended 3 Dao domains, once he executed it, even a sovereign emperor would find it hard to struggle free if he grabbed them. To ice-attributed cultivators, the ice cloud fruit was a great supplement. It was a 10,000-year-old herb king that could directly raise one's cultivation and Dao domain. It did not even need any special refinement to be consumed directly. Xiao Chen managed to obtain a 10,000-year-old herb king, which did not cause much of a commotion. He crawled all the way until a throne appeared in the depths of the ground. A skeleton wearing a featureless white mask sat on the throne. A group of people knelt respectfully to the skeleton's sides. A wondrous mental fluctuation immediately appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. That was the one-eyed tree threatening Xiao Chen to leave. Chapter 2159. When the 3 from the Hound Lion Empire saw that the situation was bad, Xiao Chen managed to suppress their auras with just one move. This was too horrifying. Although the 3 were not half-step sovereign emperors, they were at least heaven-defying sovereign personages. While the 3 might not be able to defeat Xiao Chen if they worked together, they would at least have no problem leaving. However, before Xiao Chen, they were no match for him. This immediately frightened the 3 out of their wits. They wanted to turn around and leave. However, since Xiao Chen chose to attack, how could he give the 3 a chance to leave? Stay behind. Xiao Chen shouted coldly as he soared into the air and swung the spear in his hand. A vast saber light encased the 3, not letting any of them go. Flawless Dao domain. This was the first time Xiao Chen fought with someone since his saber great Dao advanced to a Dao domain. After experiencing a tribulation, he finally managed to break through to the flawless Dao domain. The moment he attacked, he displayed strong might. Crack. Crack. This person's Dao domain actually cracked under the pressure of Xiao Chen's flawless Dao domain. If the three continued fleeing, their Dao domains would crumble. They needed to fight. Otherwise, they would die for sure. Damn it. The three were forced to turn around and attack the pressing Xiao Chen. Dang. 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 Xiao Chen condensed the bedsheet. It looked long and slender, but in reality he used it as a saber. The instant the three turned around, the flickering saber light arrived before them. The three could not react in time and could not deal with it calmly. They could only brandish their swords to block Xiao Chen's attacks. In the blink of an eye, 100 moves had passed. Xiao Chen pressed forward step by step. The three people from the Hound Lion Empire blocked Xiao Chen at the same time. However, they appeared flustered, not having a chance to catch their breath. Rumble. Thunder rumbled endlessly in the sky. Snowflakes danced in the air. However, Xiao Chen suppressed them with his flawless Dao domain. The three Dao domains immediately merged, working perfectly with each other, suppressing the three until they could not retaliate. These three each grasped the Dao domain. However, they could not merge them as perfectly as Xiao Chen. Unable to fend for themselves. Not only did they not bring out the advantage of having many people working together, but they also had to use 3 Dao domains each, limiting themselves. They could not even bring out 50% of their strength. In less than 100 moves, he was already covered in wounds, and it looked like he would be unable to hold on any longer. The three of them roared furiously. At this instant, their eyes shone with a golden light. They had activated their great desolate Ian bloodline. Boom! The instant the great desolate Ian bloodline erupted, the three of them finally recovered 10% of their momentum. After activating his great desolate Ian bloodline, his aura should be soaring, and he should be launching a frenzied counterattack. However, the three of them didn't even think about it. As soon as they had a chance to catch their breath, they turned around and fled again. Outside the Tower of Trials, the boss of Bushan Palace felt extremely awkward when he saw this. The gazes of the other foe gods were filled with doubt and confusion, making him feel extremely embarrassed. You've been forced to activate your bloodline by this freak, yet you're still thinking of running? You're really courting death. As a foe god, he naturally could tell that if they activated their great desolate Ian bloodline and fought to the death, 1 or 2 might be able to escape. However, if they chose to flee, only death awaited them. The moment the bloodline power vanished, they would no longer be able to retaliate and could only allow others to humiliate them. However, the foe god was wrong. Xiao Chen did not wait for the three to finish activating their bloodline power, choosing to attack immediately. Xiao Chen roared ferociously, and the golden divine seal in his soul pool activated. However, before the roar ended, the golden divine seal appeared. Before the shout ended, the three, who just turned around and soared into the air, vomited a mouthful of blood at the same time. They showed pained expressions as they knelt on the ground, dropping their weapons to the side. Perfect divine seal. Someone exclaimed softly. Given a foe god's eyesight, the might of the divine seal that Xiao Chen erupted earlier could be seen as a perfect divine seal with one glance. Divine seals also differed in quality. Divine seals were split into 4 grades: flawed, ordinary, flawless, and perfect. Flawed meant that the soul and the Dao domain did not merge well, showing obvious flaws. Most cultivators who could enter the foe god world would not have any flaws in their divine seals. At the very least, they would be ordinary. However, it was somewhat difficult to condense a flawless divine seal. As for a perfect divine seal that surpassed flawless, they were like phoenix feathers and water chestnuts, extremely rare. Practically no one could merge 3 Dao domains like Xiao Chen and still form a perfect divine seal. Who is this person? The eyes of the various super faction powerhouses lit up. They quickly got their subordinates to ask around. Earlier, they had been afraid that this strange person was from their faction. Now they hoped that this person was from their faction. The other super factions all held some anticipation. Only the Bushan Palace powerhouses showed an unsightly expression. Seeing the 3 kneeling on the ground, tortured by the Dao, this strange person wrapped in a bedsheet was definitely not from their faction. Xiao Chen walked over step by step. He knew that these three were in the same situation as when he faced Mu Yunju back then. The other party's one sentence made it hard for Xiao Chen to resist, nearly resulting in defeat. Now Xiao Chen had such ability as well. Furthermore, he was even stronger. I withdraw, the three said with much difficulty. Then, a strong force immediately appeared in front of Xiao Chen, blocking his advance. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He knew that this was the trial tower's protection. Everyone had such an opportunity in paradise. If one ran into a situation where they could not preserve their lives, they could withdraw. This way, Xiao Chen would have achieved his goal. As long as these three did not expose his secrets, it did not matter whether he killed them or not. My injuries are still somewhat obstructive, and my meridians have not fully recovered. Otherwise, I would not need to exchange 100 moves with these three people, who are not even half-step sovereign emperors. Xiao Chen muttered to himself. Then he waved his right hand. Whoosh, the bedsheet that formed a spear scattered, and Xiao Chen draped it over his body again. Then his figure flashed, vanishing from where he was. Back then, Xiao Chen had been in a rush, fearing that the gauze would not be able to cover him. After he came out, he discovered that he had worried too much. Even without the bedsheet, the gauze would be tight enough. There was no need to worry too much. However, it was not bad to use it as a weapon. If the gauze accidentally tore, he could use it to cover himself. Hence, Xiao Chen carried it with him. Could this person be Xiao Chen? Mu Zifeng muttered, a bright light flickering in his eyes as he entered deep thought. Xiao Chen also used the saber. His saber techniques resembled him somewhat. However, after thinking about it, Mu Zifeng felt that this was impossible. Xiao Chen had just been injured, and his survival was unknown. How could he erupt with such strength? The most important thing was that Mu Zifeng's impression of Xiao Chen was that he wore white, and had a stern air. A sharpness hit on his face. He did not seem like someone who would appear in a bedsheet. Inside paradise, Xiao Chen followed the clues in his memory, continuously traveling through the boundless herb fields. When Xiao Chen stopped, he would definitely gain something. The ability that the fiend blood gave him was much more reliable than the Universe Origin Palace's flame, or the Bushan Palace's spirit-devouring rats. Time passed. When Xiao Chen harvested his 10th 10,000-year-old herb king, startled cries rang out outside the trial tower. Right now, Xiao Chen's harvest already equaled the harvest of an entire team of the other super factions. He did not know that this harvest was the result of Xiao Chen holding back on purpose. Xiao Chen knew that the foe gods outside could see the scene inside, so he did not dare to go overboard. The 10,000-year-old herb kings he obtained were ones that he could consume and refine himself, seeking quality over quantity. Haha, Saber Demon Wu Meng? With your saber techniques, you are not even fit to carry my shoes. Xiao Chen, who was traveling, suddenly heard a familiar voice. He quickly withdrew and retreated to a large tree. He slowly extended his spiritual sense, and saw the Heavenly Alliance's saber demon clutching his chest 50 kilometers away, vomiting some blood. Someone beside saber demon Wu Meng supported him, showing a furious expression. The saber intent in the surroundings had yet to scatter, still buzzing. Clearly, there had been an intense battle here earlier. Zhang Yushan looked coldly at Wu Meng and said, "If not for your tortoise shell, I would have defeated you in 10 moves. To think that trash like you is not embarrassed to be called saber demon. Damn it. If not for your sneak attack, how could Big Brother Wu lose to you?" A Heavenly Alliance disciple at the side said angrily, his eyes filled with dissatisfaction. Wu Meng showed a calm expression as he waved his hand and said, "There's no need to say anything more. He is Fiendish Saber Shimu's disciple. Even in a normal fight, I would not be a match for him. If you want this herb king, take it. Let's go." Zhang Yushan reached out and received the 10,000-year-old herb king that Wu Meng proffered. He showed a disdainful expression, not saying anything. Whoosh, whoosh. The figures of Zhang Yushan's 2 junior brothers flashed, blocking Wu Meng and Zhang Yushan's path. Wu Meng said sullenly, "What do you want? I already gave you the herb king that I subdued after much difficulty. What else do you want? How can things be that easy? If the two of you want to continue seeking fortuitous encounters in paradise, each of you will have to hand over 10,000 faux god coins. What? Wu Meng raged, the hand that held his saber trembling. Normally, given his temper, he would have attacked long ago. However, now he really hated them. Chapter 2160. Stop wasting time. Quickly hand over the 10,000 faux god coins. Otherwise, you can forget about remaining in paradise. Zhang Yushan's two junior brothers urged impatiently when they saw Wu Meng hesitate. Wu Meng felt enraged, not because he lost a 10,000-year-old herb king, but because he hated himself for being so useless. You are seeking death. Wu Meng, it looks like you are tired of living. Kneel. Zhang Yushan suddenly let out a thunderous roar. It was a shocking sound. He had activated his divine seal and was about to make a move. Given Wu Meng and his companion's current state, they would not be able to endure Zhang Yushan's shout. How mighty! However, just as this sound wave was about to arrive, an indifferent shout came from the ground. This shout also contained Dao might. It was like a sharp saber carrying a strong wind as it attacked. Boom! The saber clashed with Zhang Yushan's sound wave, and explosions rang out endlessly. The surrounding weeds and trees shattered one after another. The various Dao might contained in the sound wave appeared. Lightning, ice, fire, saber intent. All sorts of mysterious phenomena swept out in the surroundings. Whoosh! What was even more terrifying was that the Dao might and sharpness contained in that shout remained. After shattering Zhang Yushan's sound wave, it charged over like a saber light. Zhang Yushan's expression changed slightly. He quickly made a move and scattered the sound wave. However, he ended up taking 3 steps back. Who is it? Hiding in the dark. If you are capable, show yourself. Zhang Yushan's two junior brothers felt that something was wrong. Their figures flashed as they cautiously landed beside Zhang Yushan. I never hid. It is just that you could not see me. Zhang Yushan looked up and saw a person standing on a huge tree. This person's body was bandaged and wrapped in a bedsheet, revealing only a pair of eyes as they looked at Zhang Yushan coldly. Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. What a coincidence. He had not thought of taking the initiative to cause trouble for this Zhang Yushan. However, to think that he would run into Zhang Yushan in this paradise. Since Xiao Chen ran into Zhang Yushan, then he should take this opportunity to settle past grudges. Back when Zhang Yushan first came to Fiend Cloud Hall, he threatened Xiao Chen and even targeted Ryue. Later, when Xiao Chen used his killer move, he wanted to kill him in one move. Now he was even more shameless. Not only did he snatch Wu Meng's 10,000-year-old herb king, he even wanted to continue extorting him. This Zhang Yushan showed Xiao Chen what was called shamelessness. Zhang Yushan had utterly embarrassed Senior Shimu. Whoosh! Xiao Chen leaped down and landed in front of Wu Meng. Then he said softly, "You all go first. Leave this to me." Friend, the 3 of them are Yao Dao's disciples. They are not easy to deal with. Wu Meng looked at Xiao Chen, confusion filling his eyes. He did not understand why this strange person would help him, but he still had to warn him out of goodwill. Fiendish Saber Shimu was a famous expert among faux gods. For Zhang Yushan to become his nominal disciple, he naturally was not weak. Zhang Yushan looked coldly at Xiao Chen and said, "You crazy fellow, let's see who you are. How dare you meddle in my business?" Buzz. When Zhang Yushan drew his saber intent spread out. He truly lived up to his reputation as the person who had listened to Shimu's teachings for 5 years. When Zhang Yushan attacked, he pushed his saber intent to the limits. When he drew his saber, it already contained a horrifying saber intent. It was like the roar of a mountain or the roar of a tsunami, surging towards Xiao Chen like a huge wave. Mad Cloud Chop. Zhang Yushan did not stop moving. The instant he drew his saber, he attacked with his killing move. When Zhang Yushan stretched out his hand, clouds gathered and unfolded, looking very majestic. He materialized a tyrannical aura of a lone tyrant in the sky. Together with the churning cloud sea behind him, his aura was truly overwhelming. Good. Zhang Yushan's 2 junior brothers could not help exclaiming in admiration. Their senior brother's Mad Cloud Chop truly reached perfection, making them sigh in amazement. How strong? Wu Ming frowned slightly, feeling somewhat disappointed. He was somewhat unconvinced of Zhang Yushan. After all, Zhang Yushan was the one who sneak attacked him. However, when Wu Ming saw this move, he felt that Zhang Yushan's sneak attack had not been genuine. Now this was Zhang Yushan's true strength. No matter what, he was fiendish Saber Shimu's disciple. Xiaochen showed a somewhat grave expression. Although this Zhang Yushan was extremely shameless, he did have some talent in the Saber Dao. That made sense. If Zhang Yushan did not have some talent, Senior Shimu would not have accepted him out of consideration for Xiaochen's sake. If Zhang Yushan were at his peak, it would be fine. However, he was somewhat problematic now. However, it was only a little troublesome. In the end, this Zhang Yushan was just trash. Mad Cloud Chop. If the Cloud Sea does not exist, let's see how you can be arrogant. Xiaochen shouted coldly, unflustered as he faced the saber light that was about to chop down. Bolts of purple electric light tore through the sky. Closely following that, thunder roared. The majestic Cloud Sea mysterious phenomenon behind Zhang Yushan instantly crumbled. Zhang Yushan's heart skipped a beat, but he gritted his teeth and endured. The time it took for Xiaochen to break his Cloud Sea mysterious phenomenon allowed his saber light to be only 2 centimeters away from Xiaochen. As long as Zhang Yushan chopped down, even if the saber light's might was significantly reduced, it would still be able to take half of Zhang Yushan's life. Go to hell. Zhang Yushan showed a ferocious expression as he roared ferociously. The saber in his hand descended even faster. You lose, Xiaochen said indifferently. Then he grabbed the bedsheet with his right hand and swung it ferociously. A strong wind blew, and the flawless Dao domain instantly erupted. Using his will as a saber and the wind as a saber, this swing was filled with saber light. Zhang Yushan clearly did not draw his saber, but the bedsheet was like a powerful saber being drawn, carrying an unparalleled sharpness as it swept over. Like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, Zhang Yushan was ruthlessly slapped back, as if he had been slapped in the face. I'll strike while you are down. Not giving Zhang Yushan a chance to catch his breath, the bedsheet occasionally gathered and scattered. As Xiaochen's Dao domain spread out, saber moves filled the air like a torrential storm. It's over. I'm going to die here. Zhang Yushan felt a chill in his heart. He had not expected to be defeated in one move, and be consigned to eternal damnation. Why are you still not coming to help? You two trash. What are you just watching for? When Zhang Yushan saw that his 2 junior brothers were still watching, he could not help feeling enraged. Senior brother, hold on for a while. We'll get reinforcements for you. Who could have imagined that his 2 junior brothers would flee when they saw that the situation was bad? Zhang Yushan was so frustrated that the bedsheet pierced his chest in a moment of carelessness, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Pa. Seeing that he had no hope of victory, Zhang Yushan wanted to beg for mercy. Who knew the other party ignored him? The bedsheet gathered and slapped Zhang Yushan's face. The heavy slap to the face immediately stunned Zhang Yushan. There is no grudge between us. There is no need to do this. I am fiendish Saber Shimu's disciple, after all, one of the top 5 disciples of the profound Heaven Holy Land. If you anger me, not only will you offend fiendish Saber Shimu's faction, but the entire profound Heaven Holy Land will not let you off. It would have been fine if Zhang Yushan had not mentioned fiendish Saber Shimu. Now that he mentioned it, Xiaochen's expression turned even colder. Pa, 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 pa. The bedsheet slapped Zhang Yushan several times in the air, leaving him hovering between life and death, unable to say a complete sentence. Now the profound Heaven Holy Land powerhouses outside the trial tower felt incredibly ashamed. To think that the top 5 disciples of the profound Heaven Holy Land were tortured by such a strange person, unable to retaliate. This was no longer torture but humiliation. Damn it. Investigate. Investigate. You must find out who this little bastard is. I want to see who exactly he is. The profound Heaven Holy Land Faux God powerhouse Gu Fei flew into a rage out of humiliation. Brother Gu, please calm down. Didn't your profound Heaven Holy Land disciple humiliate the Heavenly Alliance disciples as well? Paradise is a competition of the younger generation. Making a big fuss over it is too much. That's right. Didn't Brother Mu not say anything just now? The other faux god powerhouses smiled faintly, reminding Zhang Yushan to mind his status. After all, he was a bona fide faux god. How could he lose his composure like that? Gu Fei smiled coldly in his heart. What could Mu Zifeng say? Did someone use a bedsheet to slap a Heavenly Alliance disciple into a pig's head? However, given the situation, Gu Fei could only keep his words in his heart, unable to say anything. No matter what, it was unreasonable for a faux god to bicker with a junior. Xiaoqun did not want to give Zhang Yushan a chance to admit defeat. He also did not truly threaten Zhang Yushan's life. Otherwise, Zhang Yushan would have chosen to withdraw. Xiaoqun would fight with Zhang Yushan, not giving him hope or despair. Wu, wu, wu. Just at this moment, flute music rang out. Wu Meng and the other Heavenly Alliance disciple immediately felt incredibly uncomfortable. Zhang Yushan's eyes lit up as he laughed. Ha ha. Senior brother Gu is here. He will definitely kill you. Let's see how arrogant you can be. You talk too much. Xiaoqun swung the bedsheet and directly sent Zhang Yushan flying. When Zhang Yushan landed, he paled. He had sustained severe injuries, nearly killing him. Xiaoqun narrowed his eyes and looked forward. He saw a person holding a flute with both hands. This person placed the flute by his mouth and gently blew on it. While in the air, he played the flute and quickly flew over. When he looked around and met Xiaoqun's gaze, he immediately burst forth with a cold, sharp light. A false emperor. Chapter 2161. A false emperor. With one glance, Xiaoqun could tell that this person was a false emperor. Among the profound Heaven Holy Land disciples, this person was probably on the same level as Mu Yunju, a peak existence. Outside the trial tower, the eyes of the profound Heaven Holy Land's faux god First Elder, Gu Fei, lit up. Gu Yuhan arrived. This is great. As a false emperor, Gu Yuhan could condense divine energy. He had already advanced to half-step sovereign emperor many years ago. The flute music was indistinct, sounding like the sounds of nature. When Gu Yuhan played the song, The Heart of the Night on the Blue Sea and Blue Sky, it was like waves crashing against reefs. The waves surged, and the blue sky and blue sea looked boundless. It seemed slow but was actually very fast. As Gu Yuhan played the flute music, he drove his divine seal and infused his Tao might into the flute music. Or rather, using the flute music to activate the divine seals, might was much more profound than using sound waves. Xiaoqun's face sank slightly. While this person was still very far away, he already felt like he was facing a great enemy, putting immense pressure on him. If Xiaoqun got closer, who knew how strong this flute music would be? If Xiaoqun left now, it would not be a problem. The other party might not be able to catch up. It was unwise to fight a false emperor in his current state. However, Wu Meng and the other Heavenly Alliance fellow Taoists behind Xiaoqun were already affected by the flute music. If Xiaoqun left, the two would be finished. Xiaoqun would not feel at ease. If he did not feel at ease, how could he maintain his original intentions? Go! Xiaoqun shouted. Then he pressed his tongue against his palate, letting out a dragon roar. The flute music immediately paused. Ripples appeared in the surrounding space, kicking up overwhelming waves. The flute music scattered, and the blue sea and blue sky song scattered. Taking advantage of this moment, Xiaoqun picked up Wu Meng and the other Heavenly Alliance fellow, and sent them flying with all his might. Wu Meng, who was startled to his senses, felt a huge lightning attributed force on him. Then he flew away like a beam of light. When Wu Meng saw that Xiaoqun was still where he was, he could not help feeling guilty. He shouted, "Who are you? Will you stay alive? I will never forget this favor. I, Wu Meng, will definitely repay it in the future." Xiaoqun sent a voice projection. "We are all Heavenly Alliance people, so we should take care of each other. Brother Wu Meng, there is no need to be so polite. I am fine. There is no need to worry. A member of the Heaven Alliance." Wu Meng's heart trembled when he heard this. Such a person existed? How laughable. To think that I thought that I was the strongest in the Heavenly Alliance, aside from Xiao Chun and Grim Reaper Lin Feng. I was truly a frog in a well. Normally, I would not be so arrogant, training day and night. Even if this Zhang Yushan was Shimu's disciple, I would not have suffered such a miserable defeat. Imperceptibly, this lesson allowed Saber Demon Wu Meng to undergo a transformation. Slowly, Xiao Chen's full-powered lightning-attributed energy quickly sent the two far away. However, he had no choice but to remain where he was. Woo 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 woo. As the flute music spread out, it became even more difficult to deal with. Gu Yuhan clearly increased his strength. Moreover, the distance between them was getting shorter and shorter, which made it difficult for Xiao Chen to continue. Faint ripples appeared in his soul pool. Occasionally musical notes could be heard. The golden divine seal seemed to be violently battered by raging waves. This made Xiao Chen feel extremely uncomfortable. Faint cracks had actually appeared on the divine seal. If this continued, he would probably die here. A false emperor. He truly lives up to being a false emperor. While Xiao Chen felt uncomfortable, lofty aspirations welled up in his heart. He had long heard of the strength of a false emperor. 5 years ago, he wanted to fight a false emperor. However, he had not gotten the chance. After waiting for 5 years, he finally got the chance. Boom. The battle hunger that Xiao Chen suppressed for 5 years turned into hot-bloodedness and lofty aspirations spreading out in all directions. When people outside the trial tower felt this hot-bloodedness and lofty aspirations, they immediately praised Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen had courage and boldness, not fearing a strong enemy. Instead, he inspired such a strong battle hunger. What a great junior! If this person were a disciple of my Bushin Palace, I would definitely take him in as my final disciple and pass on my mantle to him. My Bushin Palace needs such hot-blooded people. Regardless of victory or defeat, let's fight first. So what if he is a false emperor? Earlier, Xiao Chen humiliatingly defeated a Bushin Palace disciple, embarrassing that Bushin Palace powerhouse. Now that this Bushin Palace powerhouse saw this scene, he could not help praising Xiao Chen. No matter how strangely this junior dressed, making others laugh and feel confused, Xiao Chen first revealed his perfect divine seal. Now, when facing a profound Heaven Holy Land false emperor expert, he burst out with such startling battle hunger. Xiao Chen already fulfilled all the requirements of a powerful outstanding talent. He just lacked one more chance to soar into the sky in one go. Could it really be Xiao Chen? Mu Zifeng thought to himself. If it were an outsider, he would not have come to save Xiao Chen. However, the white-clad Xiao Chen with his fluttering long hair and a hidden sharpness appeared in Mu Zifeng's mind. Compared to this strange person covered in bandages and bedsheets, it was a completely different scene. Mu Zifeng would never have imagined that Xiao Chen was the same person. The only similarity was that the two had lofty aspirations and hot-bloodedness. They both had a pride and tyranny that refused to admit defeat. So what if I am a false emperor? I will fight you. Bang. Gu Yuhan soared into the air, holding a flute with both hands and using the flute music to activate his divine seal. Gu Yuhan clearly sensed Xiao Chen's battle hunger. This was a provocation, so he could not help but feel a murderous intent in his heart. This azure sea and blue sky immediately gained a cold and somber air. Frost spread out for tens of thousands of miles. This medicinal field and all the towering trees within sight were covered in frost. Then they all withered, their vitality destroyed by the killing intent. Vast sky, boundless sea, waves rise, falling flute music, cold killing intent. Each note was louder than the one before. Ding, dang, dang, rang out. This azure sea and blue sky contained a cold and somber air, wanting to kill everything in the world. Who cares about your overwhelming battle hunger, or your hot-bloodedness? The one I will kill is you. Xiao Chen's soaring battle hunger and burning hot-bloodedness immediately felt like he had fallen into an ice cave. Before Xiao Chen could show off his lofty aspirations, someone chopped them down in the air, making him feel very unbearable. Haha. Good. Good. Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Chen's mouth, dyeing the bandage around his mouth red. However, he could not help rearing his head back and laughing, saying good 3 times. No matter who this person was, he made Xiaochen feel the aura of an expert. Xiaochen felt deep veneration and heartfelt admiration for this person. This person was not someone that a shameless trash like Zhang Yushan could compare to. Whoosh! The bedsheet in Xiaochen's hand flung out ferociously. Then he tied it up like a cloak. Even though Zhang Yushan's hot-bloodedness was chopped down by someone's flute music, he did not feel discouraged. Zhang Yushan could not maintain his composure, not saying a word or moving at all. Am I going to die? Zhang Yushan's face swelled up like a pig's head as he leaned against a rock with much difficulty. When he saw Xiaochen's scene, he could not help laughing excitedly. Bang! Right after Zhang Yushan spoke, a crisp sound rang out in the air. After storing up power for a long time, Xiaochen punched with all his might. The fist light was like a saber moving in the air, giving off a surging saber intent. Under the pressure of the flute music, Xiaochen used his flawless saber domain to drive the divine seal. The flawless Dao uses the body as a saber. I do not have a saber in my hand, but I use my body as a saber and my thoughts as a scabbard. Every time Xiaochen punched, his fighting spirit spread out as he drew his saber. The sound of a saber being drawn unleashed his hot-bloodedness, blocking the increasingly difficult flute music. Whoosh! 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 Two figures landed. It was Zhang Yushan's two junior brothers. When they saw Zhang Yushan's appearance, they could not help finding it funny. Senior brother, why is your face swollen like a pig's head? Who slapped you? Zhang Yushan immediately felt exasperated. You two bastards, to think that you have the face to come back. Do you enjoy watching me get beaten up? Senior brother, you are wrongly accused. Didn't we bring reinforcements for you? Since big brother Gu Yuhan is here, that brat will die for sure. The two did not blush. In reality, running into Gu Yuhan was a complete coincidence. Zhang Yushan looked like he saw something terrifying. Unable to care about anything else, he shouted. Quickly bring me away. We can't stay here anymore. Quick! 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 I'll let bygones be bygones. Quickly bring me away. Zhang Yushan's two junior brothers mocked. Senior brother, did someone beat you silly? Senior brother Gu Yuhan is here. What are you afraid of? You two pigheads. Look behind you. The two quickly turned around. When they saw what happened, they were stupefied. They did not even have time to put away their smiles. They saw Xiaochen draped in a bedsheet, using his body as a saber and his thoughts as a scabbard. The sound of Xiaochen drawing the scabbard reverberated in the surroundings, actually shattering the flute music, which had grown much stronger. The surrounding mysterious phenomena of the blue sky shattering and waves surging back did not injure Xiaochen at all. Someone actually blocked senior brother Gu's blue sky and blue sea. How can this be? Quickly leave. Otherwise, when senior brother Gu comes down, the shockwaves will definitely affect this place. This greatly startled the two. Without even thinking, they quickly retreated. Damn. You two bastards. Bring me along. Zhang Yushan, who was severely injured and beaten into a pig's head by Xiaochen, screamed hoarsely. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two figures quickly retreated. Then each of them grabbed one of Zhang Yushan's legs and moved as fast as lightning, continuing to flee. The flute music and the sound of Gu Yuhan drawing the scabbard reverberated even more intensely. This was no longer a battle of divine seals. Instead, it was the two's martial Dao clashing. The flute music and the sound of Gu Yuhan drawing the scabbard contained their respective understandings of the martial Dao. Neither could afford to lose. Once they lost, they would hurt themselves. Whoosh! A figure soared through the air. It was Gu Yuhan who had finally arrived before Xiaochen. He looked at Xiaochen coldly with a sullen expression. However, he did not stop playing the flute. The flute music spread out as Gu Yuhan landed. It was like a surging tsunami surging over. Xiaochen could not help showing an even graver expression. As he played, he brought out his flawless Dao domain to its fullest. Gu Yuhan slowly paced the ground. As he walked, the flute music never stopped. It looked like there was no pattern to it. In reality, every step Gu Yuhan took contained the laws of the world. At this moment, his azure sea and blue sky technique was already driven to its limits. The two of them had already fought to the point where neither of them could let go. Both of them were holding back a killer move. The ending notes of Gu Yuhan's Azure Sea and Blue Sky technique would definitely overlap, unleashing all the rhythm of the earlier notes at the very last moment. As for Xiaochen, he was also hiding the dragon tone art that the Qing Emperor created back then. Given his current cultivation, when he executed the dragon tone art, he could bring out all the blue dragon's power in his bloodline. The fight looked incredibly intense, surging with battle hunger. However, in reality they were both enduring, waiting, holding back a move, waiting for their peak strike. Chapter 2162. The two endured, hiding their moves. One attacked, and the other defended. Gu Yuhan's Blue Sea Blue Sky would eventually come to an end. Xiaochen, who was forced to defend with the sound of a drawn scabbard, was forced to defend. Although Gu Yuhan was at a disadvantage, as long as he could defend, it would be hard to say who would win in the end. As Gu Yuhan walked, he blew the flute music endlessly. Gu Yuhan's movements did not change. However, those with eyes could tell that while his steps appeared slow, they were actually urgent. He had already unknowingly increased his pace. Clear sky. Waves rise. Flute music descend. Cold killing intent. With each step, each note, and each note, Gu Yuhan's rage soared into the sky. The long night arrived in the blue sky and the jade-green sea. Night covered this world, turning it into the sea. Xiaochen and Gu Yuhan stood at the top of the waves. Only the flute music and the endless waves remained in the dark night. Only the light of Xiaochen's drawn saber could illuminate this long night and the vast sea. Outside the trial tower, the many foe gods watched carefully. Their attention was attracted, and their expressions turned grave. Although the two's cultivations were low in the eyes of the foe gods, this was a competition of their martial Tao. Everyone's eyes lit up and they cheered in amazement. This blue sea blue sky is indeed incredible. Unfortunately, we can only see it and not listen to it personally. That strange person is really incredible. To think that he can simulate the sound of a drawn saber and use it to write his martial Tao. He changed very quickly. He knows that the essence of this competition is not the strength of one's divine seal, cultivation, or musical attainments. Instead, it's a battle of the heart, to see whose martial will is superior, and who can display it more perfectly. That's right. Why is this blue sea blue sky so difficult to deal with? Even some sovereign emperors could not block it because they could not see through its essence. If one could not distinguish between the two and fell into any trap, they would immediately lose. From the looks of it, Gu Yuhan holds the advantage. However, this advantage is not huge and somewhat strained. The strange person adapted to the situation. Gu Yuhan should have a suppressive advantage. Given the current situation, while he holds the advantage, it can only be considered a draw. Void God realm experts had outstanding eyesight. After all, their realms were much higher than theirs. They could see through what was real and what was fake with one glance. The profound Heaven Holy Land powerhouse, Gu Fei, showed a grave expression but did not refute. Such a situation had long surpassed Xiaochen's expectations. Logically speaking, Gu Yuhan did not even need to land to force Xiaochen to kneel and beg for mercy. However, the fight was so intense now. It's almost over. The winner is about to be decided. In paradise, the blue sea and blue sky that Gu Yuhan played gradually grew softer. The waves receded. The blue sky and blue sea were calm. The flute music was low and deep, as if it wanted to say something. The calm didn't last for long. It was only for a moment, but in that moment, the surging melody suddenly fell silent. The instantaneous difference caused space to freeze, as if time itself had stopped. In the next moment, there was a loud rumble. The sun set over the long river, and the stars sank. The blue sea and blue sky filled the heart of the night. Rumble. Gu Yuhan held the xiao with both hands and continued to play. However, only a final note remained. The final note buzzed endlessly. At this moment, Gu Yuhan seemed to have dug out his heart and poured it into this final note. Before the song ended, the heart did not die. The sun set, the stars sank, and the sky became nightless. The melody that paused for a moment erupted at this moment. The stars fell, and the vast sea rose from the ground. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. This was the final note that the other party used his life to play. Despite knowing how horrifying it was, he did not choose to dodge. A crazed look flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. His entire body trembled. It was hard to tell whether it was the anxiety of life and death, or the excitement of hot-bloodedness. Xiao Chen only knew that he had to do his best, gambling on the pride of the blue dragon to fight to the death. The dragon tone art that Xiao Chen had been suppressing for a long time erupted at this moment. Xiao Chen roared ferociously, and a dragon roar came from his chest. This dragon roar was vast and dense. The deeply buried blue dragon bloodline power stirred up. Xiao Chen's entire body burned like fire. The perfect divine seal shone with resplendent light. Xiao Chen drove it at full power, holding nothing back. Boom. Just as the boundless sea carrying the setting sun and stars looked like it was about to swallow up Xiao Chen, a dragon roar rang out and forcefully shattered it. Amidst the loud noise, the boundless sea shattered, and the complete phenomenon was broken. Boundless starlight burst out. If not for this being paradise, the land for 500,000 kilometers would have instantly crumbled and turned into ashes. Fortunately, we left quickly. Far away, Zhang Yushan heaved a sigh of relief, showing an extremely horrified expression. The shock waves that erupted from the two's exchange were much more horrifying than he had imagined. The two junior brothers were dumbstruck as well, and they exclaimed endlessly with admiration and clicked their tongues in wonder. How strong! How terrifying! I can't imagine that we dared to provoke that strange person earlier. That's right. Fortunately, we ran fast. Otherwise, we would end up like senior brother, pig heads. It's hard to say. Senior brother is very strong. The two of us might not last long enough to turn into pig heads before we die here. Zhang Yushan showed an unsightly expression as he listened from the side through gritted teeth. However, he could not do anything. He could only swear to himself that after he recovered his strength, he would teach these two pig-brained junior brothers a lesson. Suddenly, a few beams of starlight descended together with the tide. This startled Zhang Yushan to his senses. He shouted, "Junior brothers, quickly save me!" Who knew, when his two junior brothers saw that the situation was bad, they had already fled. By the time Zhang Yushan remembered that he had forgotten about his senior brother, the starlight had already descended. It would be too late to save him. Boom. A huge pit appeared in the ground. No one knew if Zhang Yushan was dead or alive. The two junior brothers rushed over in fright, searching for Zhang Yushan's tracks. Naturally, no one paid attention to such a scene. The foe gods outside the trial tower all wanted to know who won this final exchange. Logically speaking, Gu Yushan should have won. His song was perfect, without any openings. He infused all his martial Dao into the final note. It is truly incredible. That strange person should be someone from the Divine Dragon Empire. That final dragon roar was not much inferior. No matter how I think about it, only the Heavenly Alliance's Xiao Chen can match this strange person's identity. However, I heard that this Xiao Chen failed to break through to the perfect divine seal. That news is definitely not fake. How could he recover in 3 days? Indeed. The backlash from breaking through to the perfect divine seal would cause him to lose his cultivation at best. At worst, he would die on the spot. How could he be so lively in just 3 days? A mystery. This is truly a mystery. The final dragon roar exposed most of Xiao Chen's identity. However, these foe gods all received the news. Xiao Chen had indeed failed to break through to the divine seal. His junior brothers personally saw it. Some people even directly asked fiendish saber Shimu. Shimu's answer was the same. The strange person's identity immediately became a mystery, hard to distinguish. It's out. Shockwaves spread out in the light screen. The mysterious phenomenon vanished, and the scene reappeared. The discussion of who the strange person was ended. Everyone wanted to see who won and who lost. Gu Yuhan is still around. In the scene, Gu Yuhan held his bamboo flute with one hand. His complexion paled as he looked around, clearly trying to find Xiao Chen's figure. Where is he? Could he have run? In the end, although Xiaochen forcefully shattered the blue sky and blue sea with a dragon roar, the many foe gods still sensed his rage. They believed that he would not be able to block the shockwaves from the blue sky and blue sea. Whoosh! A wind blew like lightning, scattering the dust. Then the bandaged strange person appeared. Gu Yuhan flung the bedsheet like a cloak, sweeping away the dust. Then he slowly revealed himself. His sharpness did not diminish, and his aura remained the same as before. What a blue sky and blue sea! I nearly died here. However, many thanks to your distinguished self, I advanced to half-step sovereign emperor, and have not experienced a huge battle. Since I did not die in this battle, I will definitely rise up, Xiaochen said softly. Xiaochen said softly. His voice came through the gauze, sounding deep and low. However, it felt even more mysterious and unfathomable. Gu Yuhan revealed a suspicious expression. He could not figure out Xiaochen's current state, so his face turned somewhat sullen. Naturally, Gu Yuhan did not want to let Xiaochen off. However, the earlier battle had not been easy for him either. Right now Gu Yuhan could not figure out Xiaochen, so he did not dare to act rashly. However, when he heard Xiaochen's words, Gu Yuhan realized that Xiaochen was thanking him for helping him. Gu Yuhan could not help feeling depressed, and murderous intent surged. The two continued to face each other, clashing their auras. However, they still did not intend to let go. Whoosh! Suddenly, a tricolored spiritual light tore through the sky, forming a curved rainbow bridge in the sky. A 100,000-year-old herb king. Xiaochen's and Gu Yuhan's expressions changed as they split some of their attention to pay attention. Gu Yuhan hesitated for only a moment before finally making up his mind. Then he turned around and left. Trying to leave? Have you asked for my permission? However, Xiaochen smiled coldly. When he saw the other party reveal an opening, his battle hunger surged, and he charged over again. Chapter 2163. When facing Xiaochen's attack, everyone felt startled. Clearly, they had not expected Xiaochen to be so decisive. Gu Yuhan had just revealed an opening when Xiaochen caught it and instantly attacked. Bang! Caught off guard, Gu Yuhan was forced to turn around and receive Xiaochen's palm strike. The instant the two palms clashed, the two each took 100 steps back. Gu Yuhan stood firmly and shouted coldly, "This is never-ending." Gu Yuhan's aura suddenly soared. He flicked his finger, and a strand of divine energy turned into a beam of light and shot out. The moment divine energy appeared, it was truly unrivaled. Xiaochen pulled on his cloak and executed the flawless saber dao. He showed a grave expression as he continuously split the strand of divine energy. Gu Yuhan smiled coldly and spread his arms, slowly vanishing. This time, he did not leave any openings. Just like that, Gu Yuhan left in pursuit of the 100,000-year-old herb king. Bang! When the other party completely vanished, Xiaochen, who had been retreating as he fought, suddenly stood firmly. Then he merged his veritable essence energy, vital qi, and soul energy, and threw a ferocious punch. The beam of light formed by the significantly weakened divine energy completely scattered. The shock waves spread out, and everywhere the golden light passed, nothing remained. Xiaochen wrapped his cloak around himself again. As he looked at the rainbow bridge in the sky, he revealed an expression of caution and luck. Fortunately, this 100,000-year-old herb king suddenly appeared. Otherwise, he might have been forced to leave paradise. This Gu Yuhan was truly strong. In the end, Xiaochen was not in his peak state. His movements were somewhat restricted. There was already a gap between him and false emperors in the first place. In such a state, he was even harder to deal with. The earlier battle could not be described with just the word dangerous. That Gu Yuhan was very scheming. He simply did not want to give Xiaochen a chance to remain in paradise. If Xiaochen showed any weakness, Gu Yuhan would definitely kill him. If Xiaochen showed any weakness, the other party would ignore everything and continue attacking him. If Xiaochen did not leave paradise, the other party would definitely kill him. Unfortunately, Gu Yuhan could not see through Xiaochen. Unable to calculate how much combat prowess Xiaochen had, Gu Yuhan did not dare to take the risk, lest he get severely injured and lose the ability to compete with the other false emperors. The other party was tempted by the 100,000-year-old Herb King's appearance. However, at the same time, he wanted to use this opportunity to test Xiaochen. He purposely pretended to be anxious, turned around, and left, leaving an opening. If Xiaochen didn't make a move, then it was certain that Xiaochen's current fighting spirit was faked. Then he would immediately turn around and fight again, forcefully killing Xiaochen or forcing him out of paradise. If Xiaochen made a move, it would prove that Xiaochen still had the strength to fight. There was no need to tangle with Xiaochen any longer. It was more important to quickly subdue the 100,000-year-old Demon King. However, he had never expected that Xiaochen's injuries were indeed not light, much more serious than his. It was just that he had seen through the other party's schemes, and was a step ahead of them. I need to find a place to recuperate. I finally stabilized my strength as a half-step sovereign emperor. I now have a clear understanding of a false emperor's strength. Once I recover completely and return to my peak, I won't have to fear even a false emperor. In reality, false emperors were considered half-step sovereign emperors, but they were still not sovereign emperors. The difference between a half-step sovereign emperor and a false emperor was not as large as one might imagine. False emperors had only two advantages. First, they had formed their divine seal longer. Second, they had condensed divine energy. However, such divine energy was not true divine energy. Without the support of divine veins, one could not bring out the true might of divine energy. False emperors were not scary. The scary one was Gu Yuhan. It was like a half-step sovereign emperor. Zhang Yushan was also a half-step sovereign emperor. However, he could not last more than 10 moves against Xiaochen, who was of the same cultivation realm. Cultivation realm was always just one of the factors that measured one's strength. It was not absolute. This was especially so before the outstanding talents. Unless the difference in cultivation was too great, one could never use one's cultivation to judge one's strength. However, even if it was Gu Yuhan, Xiaochen was confident that as long as he entered his peak state, Gu Yuhan would definitely regret leaving. The next time they met, Gu Yuhan would definitely regret leaving this time. I won't have a chance to fight for this 100,000-year-old Herb King. Xiaochen thought for a while, but he did not show much envy. The 10,000-year-old Herb Kings that he obtained were all peak quality. Furthermore, Xiaochen had directly consumed and refined all of them, which targeted him. After refining them, he could quickly convert them into his own cultivation. However, a 100,000-year-old Herb King was indeed very rare. A 100,000-year-old Herb King was nearly the same age as the faux god world. Furthermore, it was tainted by the demonic qi of this place, which made it very ferocious. It would be very difficult for a person to subdue it alone. Xiaochen knew where some 100,000-year-old Herb Kings hid. However, he did not dare to rashly make a move. I wonder who will be the one to obtain this 100,000-year-old Herb King in the end. I believe that it will take some time to fight for it. After Xiaochen muttered to himself, his figure flashed and he left. After Xiaochen left, the faux gods outside the trial tower no longer paid attention to Xiaochen. The scenes on the light screens revolved around that 100,000-year-old Herb King. A 100,000-year-old Herb King was extremely important to these faux gods. Of course, the faux gods had to verify the rank of this spirit herb first. Otherwise, even a 100,000-year-old spirit herb would be useless. At a desolate place in the boundless herb fields in paradise, Xiaochen looked at the sky and entered deep thought. It looks like the outside world can indeed notice everything that happens in here. Since entering, Xiaochen felt like something was paying attention to him. This feeling only truly vanished just now. That sense of discomfort was very obvious. Combined with the 100,000-year-old Herb King that just appeared, Xiaochen already determined that this Herb King had to have helped him attract attention. I really have to thank this 100,000-year-old Herb King. It has helped me a lot, Xiaochen said softly. Then he said, I have to absorb all of this primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment first, lest my hands and feet become tied. As long as my meridian injuries recover, They are actually just minor injuries. After making up his mind, Xiaochen sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes, speeding up his absorption of the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment. Previously, when Xiaochen was asleep, he had been passively absorbing the ointment. Hence, the speed was extremely slow. After 3 days, he had only absorbed a small portion. However, just this small portion had pulled him back from the gates of hell. This showed how miraculous this primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment was. Now that Xiaochen took the initiative to refine it, his absorption speed was incomparable to before. In merely 1 hour, Xiaochen recovered most of the injuries he suffered and the veritable essence energy and soul energy that he drained from the fight with Gu Yuhan. The ointment's effects were startlingly strong, allowing Xiaochen to focus even more on healing the hidden injuries he suffered from his chaotic great Tao and unstable veritable essence energy. Time went by unknowingly. Xiaochen's body emitted a green light as he anxiously treated his injuries. While he was anxiously treating his injuries, he did not notice that the strong life force contained in this green light actually caused many lush green grass to grow in this desolate land. Some withered old trees even sprouted. 2 days later, when Xiaochen opened his eyes again, the scene before him immediately shocked him. The desolate land that he had purposely chosen, devoid of life force, actually turned into a scene brimming with life. All sorts of flowers and grasses appearing everywhere. Unexpectedly, this place turned into a valley filled with life and hundreds of flowers. The primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment? What kind of ointment did Senior Shimu give me? Xiaochen was shocked by the scene before him. He knew that this should be the lingering effects of the ointment, as it was being refined. After 2 days, Xiaochen's injuries had already healed completely, no longer showing any signs of relapse. Xiaochen had returned to his peak. The more horrifying thing was that he sensed that half of the ointment in the bandages had not been absorbed. Xiaochen used only half of the ointment to completely recover his battered body. He felt that it was overkill. The medicinal effects overflowed. Now there is no need for this bandage to remain. A look of disdain flashed in Xiaochen's eyes as he naturally showed a tyrannical air. However, just as Xiaochen was about to tear off the bandages, he stopped. Why do I need to tear it off? Although his attire was strange, they didn't seem to recognize him. Xiaochen hid his identity very well. This seems pretty good. If Xiaochen appeared in paradise, who knew how much trouble there would be? There were simply too many benefits to hiding his identity. Since that is the case, there is no need to rush to tear off the bandages. Although my attire looks strange, I have never cared about the opinions of others. With this thought, Xiaochen stopped what he was doing and covered himself with the bedsheet again. Hey! Just at this moment, Xiaochen let out a soft cry of surprise. He saw a tricolored light quickly flying over to where he was. It was that 100,000-year-old Herb King. Chapter 2164. The Thundercliff tree immediately turned sinister and terrifying in front of Xiaochen. Black aura wriggled around it, looking like a ferocious beast. However, the Thundercliff tree had already gone berserk. When it sensed the aura of the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment on Xiaochen, it went berserk. This was its life-saving tonic. Xiaochen pulled back the Thundercliff tree's heart, which nearly leaped out of his chest. Then he stretched out his hand above the valley. Either die or obtain the opportunity. 5. A bright light flashed in Xiaochen's eyes as he thought of the reason. This 100,000-year-old Herb King was probably attracted by the aura of the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment. Whoosh! After it. Even if I have to chase it to the ends of the world, I will make this fellow spit it out. Chu Feng felt incredibly frustrated. He and Feng Xiaobai were the ones who discovered this Thundercliff tree. It should have belonged to the two of them in the first place. This is not a coincidence. Chu Feng thought about something. In the first place, he mainly cultivated the Thunder Dao and grasped the Thunder Dao domain. Now that he had returned to his peak, he did not fear this severely injured Thundercliff tree. Rumble. Go all out. Right now, Xiaochen did not know what his chances were. However, it did not matter whether he advanced or retreated. Originally, he thought that even if someone tried to reap the benefits, that person would not be able to quickly subdue the Thunder Cliff Tree. Instead, that person might even help them block the Thunder Cliff Tree. Mu Yunju could not help but ask when he saw Gu Yuhan's hand trembling as he held the flute with an exceptionally unsightly expression. For the next 10 years, 100 years, or even 1,000 years, the Thunder Cliff Tree would continuously absorb lightning-attributed energy. A tribulation mark would be left on the Thunder Cliff Tree. Xiaochen looked carefully, and saw more than 100 tribulation marks densely packed on the Thunder Cliff Tree. Xiaochen felt like an evil ferocious beast was staring at him. He found this feeling very unbearable. He was not unfamiliar with this feeling. Road turning around. Xiaochen had made many decisions in the past. Most of the time, he would choose to take a gamble. However, when he was not confident, he would choose to retreat. With a cold shout, Xiaochen's battle hunger blazed like a fierce fire, breaking the heavy aura in the surroundings. A brilliant light flashed in Xiaochen's eyes as he tore off the bedsheet with his right hand. The messy bedsheet turned into a saber as he executed Xiaochen's peak attack. Their advantage was that they were familiar with the operating rules of this world, and were well versed in the surroundings. They were adept at escaping, and a moment of carelessness would allow them to escape. A loud sound rang out, and that 100,000-year-old Herb King fell to the bottom of the valley. Whoosh! 7. A battle raged in Xiaochen's mind. However, it only lasted for an instant. In that instant he made his decision. The Thunder Cliff Tree grew excited. It finally discovered the source of the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment. The Herb Kings in paradise were all ferocious and tainted with a demonic nature. They were very different from those in the outside world. However, the other 6 did not have much time to think. They looked at the crack in the sky and hesitated for a moment before catching up to Yuan Zhen, leaving quickly. If Xiaochen could not subdue this Thunder Cliff Tree in 10 breaths, the people chasing after him would catch up. With so many false emperors watching, it would be practically impossible for him to leave. When Mu Yunju saw the situation, he did not ask any further. However, he thought to himself, there must be more to this than meets the eye. Firmaments rage, covering the sky with one hand. Damn it! They did not have complete souls, but they were sentient. Clearly, they knew to flee after being injured. Feeling anxious, all of them brought out their trump cards and sped up, rushing towards the valley. After glancing around, Xiaochen focused his attention on the 100,000-year-old Herb King. A colossal hand containing the rage of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon appeared and covered the sky. Night enveloped the area as the back of the hand blocked the descending purple lightning. Before the Thunder Cliff Tree could execute its killing move, this saber light struck it. It lost its ferocious nature and fell to the bottom of the valley. The fluctuation of aura was like a heartbeat. Bang, bang, bang. The Thunder Cliff Tree actually synchronized with Xiaochen's heartbeat. After 2 seconds, many figures descended. There were the profound Heaven Holy Lands Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan, the Universe Origin sects Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai, the Bushan Palaces Xiao Zun and Bai Yunfei, and the Hidden Spirit Temples Yuan Zhen. Bang! The divine seal in his soul pool activated, and Xiaochen leaped out. Wrapped in a bedsheet, he launched himself at the ferocious Thunder Cliff Tree. Xiaochen entered deep thought. After a while he asked, "It is injured. Everyone, are we going to chase or not? The problem is, why did it come to where I am? Is it a coincidence or on purpose?" When the Thunder Cliff Tree pounced over, it kicked up lightning everywhere in the pitch-black sky. Bolts of purple-black lightning descended, and a terrifying aura spread out in all directions as if a peerless ferocious beast was about to appear. Gu Yuhan said calmly, suppressing the rage in his heart. At this moment, the Thunder Cliff Tree's trunk was about 1 meter tall, looking like a small tree. The branches branched off, and purple leaves grew on the branches, looking like refined iron. Without even a 10% chance of success, it would be unwise to risk it. At this moment, intense pain spread through Xiaochen's entire body. At the last second, he activated all the potential in his body, and his aura erupted. Humph! Bang! At that time, Xiaochen might lose his Tao and his life before he could even retreat. Although Xiao Chen did not fear false emperors, he would not be able to protect himself if surrounded. 8. There was definitely something strange going on. Xiao Chen grew cautious as he spread his arms. He left a faint purple mark where he stood. Then his figure appeared above the valley, temporarily avoiding it. After the Thunder Cliff tree absorbed the remnant primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment's medicinal energy, its body became brighter. That was why the Thunder Cliff tree had run to this desolate land to treat its injuries and recover its strength. If Xiao Chen had not fallen for the Thunder Cliff tree's trick, this would not have happened. Gu Yuhan and the others had been traveling quickly and had already unleashed their full power several times. Now that they were 1 second late, it would be difficult for them to catch up. However, compared to the severe injuries the Thunder Cliff tree suffered, it was still a drop in the bucket, far from sufficient. Who could not be angry? For when Gu Yuhan looked into the distance, he saw several strong auras behind the Medicine King. Although Xiao Chen had said 10 seconds, he had only given himself 8 seconds to unleash his killing move in advance. Under the heavy pressure, the heartbreaking style had surpassed its peak. When Xiao Chen saw it clearly, his heart skipped a beat. This was actually a thundercliff tree. 10. The most important thing was to be decisive and not hesitate. What's going on? Gu Yuhan could only watch from afar and see if he could get lucky. Gu Yuhan's hand faced the sky, and his palm faced the ground. A flash of saber light moved very quickly, appearing only for an instant. Gu Yuhan knew that Xiao Chen must have fooled him 2 days ago. The other party should be a spent force. The instant the Thunder Cliff tree came into contact, Xiao Chen roared and suddenly accelerated. He shouted out the final 3 seconds in his mind. Then this colossal hand grabbed all the purple-black lightning in the surroundings. In the next moment it exploded. The lightning mixed with the saber light tore through the world, lingering there. It was not an easy task to subdue the Herb King in this herb field. The combat prowess that a 10,000-year-old Medicine King could bring out was already comparable to that of a half-step sovereign emperor. Its only weakness was that it was not flexible and did not know martial techniques. The 7 appeared almost at the same time. Their expressions were somewhat unsightly. Before they rushed over, they had sensed the fluctuations of battle. Chapter 2165. A sorrowful cry caused cracks to appear in the primal chaos sky, where demonic chi and immortal chi coexisted. The expressions of the various super-faction disciples in the herb field changed as they quickly fled. A great horror was about to appear. Before entering paradise, the various elders had instructed them to leave when the sorrowful cry appeared in the herb field. If they could not leave quickly, they had to forcefully leave this paradise even if they had to pay the price of not being able to continue experiential training. Otherwise, they might fall here if they were not careful. After subduing the Thunder Cliff tree, Xiao Chen, who was fleeing, also saw the crack in the sky. The primal chaos sky was incredibly viscous. Unexpectedly, cracks appeared, startling Xiao Chen. Black fireballs rained down from the crevice. It was a terrifying scene. Are those things buried underground going to come out? Xiao Chen asked with a slight frown. Previously, he had discovered that there were countless ancient demonic sovereigns kneeling on the thrones in this herb field. The spirit herbs were hidden underground. When everyone subdued the spirit herbs, it was only a matter of time before they startled the countless corpses. I have to go. The herb field was a treasure land. Just a 10,000-year-old herb king would be a huge harvest. Naturally, no one would be willing to leave. This was especially so for the disciples who had not obtained any herb kings or the cultivators who were subduing herb kings. These people would try their luck and would not be able to make a decisive decision. Xiao Chen had gained a huge harvest. Naturally, he would not try his luck. His figure flashed as he soared into the air. Xiao Chen moved gracefully, like a roaming dragon. A bedsheet fluttered like the wind, flapping noisily as it spun around, looking like snow or clouds. Xiao Chen's figure moved nimbly, appearing as ethereal as an immortal as he dodged the many black fireballs. Even though Xiao Chen's nimble figure was draped in a bedsheet, it was still breathtaking. The huge light screen outside the trial tower locked onto Xiao Chen again. The many foe god powerhouses muttered to themselves. At this moment, the various foe gods had a rough idea of who this strange person was. It was Xiaochun. Dragon race bloodline, peak bladesman, firmament's rage, perfect divine seal. The various characteristics that Xiaochun revealed matched these characteristics. What's more, it was just him, Xiaochun. However, according to the news that everyone had received, Xiaochun had clearly failed to break through to the divine seal and suffered a backlash. His life and death were unknown, so it was impossible for him to be as lively as a dragon or a tiger within 3 days. This was something that Xiaochun could not understand. The foe god powerhouses of the various clans came to a tacit understanding. Now that they roughly confirmed Xiaochun's identity, they did not expose him. Because it was really awkward, it was not like he was their disciple, there was nothing much to say. Furthermore, there were some unexpected factors. He couldn't be 100% sure that it was Xiaochun. Apart from that, there was also the 100,000-year-old king herb, the Thunder Cliff Tree. A 100,000-year-old Thunder Cliff Tree was a natural treasure that could tempt even a foe god. These foe gods all had their own thoughts, thinking about how to obtain the Thunder Cliff Tree after this. This was especially so for some foe gods who cultivated the Thunder Dao. They were eager to give it a try, their eyes flickering continuously. Is it really him? Mu Zifeng thought to himself. However, he could not match the image of Xiaochun in his mind to this bandaged person draped in a bedsheet. Mu Zifeng already had an answer in his heart, but he still did not believe it. The difference in style was too great, completely different extremes. In the herb field in paradise, Xiaochun sped up and left. The situation had already worsened, but some cultivators were still unwilling to leave. Most of these people were subduing king herbs, unwilling to give up on this fortuitous encounter, hoping to get lucky. These people thought that they could still make it in time if they quickly left after subduing the king herb. These people consoled themselves by doing so. Naturally, Xiaochun would not care about people with such thoughts. These people were putting their lives on the line. That is. Suddenly Xiaochun stopped and his gaze froze. 2 people wearing alloy battle armor were gritting their teeth as they subdued a 10,000-year-old king herb. It was Yun Fei and Nangong Feng. Why are these 2 still not leaving? Like Xiaochun, Yun Fei and Nangong Feng were Heavenly Alliance newcomers from Desolate City. This was especially so for Yun Fei. Like Xiaochun, he was a disciple of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. Their friendship was deep, different from the others. Nangong, I feel that something is wrong. Let's retreat. If we do not leave now, we might not make it in time. Yun Fei said with a somewhat nervous expression as he executed the 13 wind controlling swords. After some thought, Nangong Feng said, "You should leave first. This dream lotus flower is compatible with my attribute. As long as I obtain it, I will definitely be able to break through to half-step Sovereign Emperor. If I lose this opportunity, who knows how long I will have to wait." Nangong Feng knew that the situation was extremely dangerous. However, he found it hard to give up. This was an opportunity to break through to half-step Sovereign Emperor. However, he did not want to implicate Yun Fei, so he let him leave first. "Let's go together. I'll help you subdue it. It will be faster." Yun Fei shook his head. He did not choose to leave alone, staying behind to help Nangong Feng subdue this 10,000-year-old king herb. The 2 moved together in the foe god world, and had a deep relationship. Even if it were Yun Fei, Nangong Feng would not abandon him. Whoosh! Just at this moment, something strange happened. A skeletal hand suddenly emerged from the ground. Before Yun Fei could react, that skeletal hand yanked him out of the air. The skeletal hand grabbed Yun Fei's ankle and pulled down, instantly dragging half of his body into the ground. Yun Fei immediately panicked. However, even with all his martial techniques, he could not do anything about it. When Nangong Feng saw the situation, he quickly gave up on subduing the dream lotus flower, and turned around to save Yun Fei. Whoosh! 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 Several more skeletal hands appeared. This time, even Nangong Feng found it hard to protect himself. "I'm probably going to die here." Despair and guilt appeared in Nangong Feng's heart. It did not matter if he died, but he also implicated Yun Fei. Nangongfeng should have left long ago. His greed led to this disaster. Whoosh! At the crucial moment, a figure descended from the sky. First, this figure directly scattered the dream lotus flower's ferocious nature with a palm strike, subduing it. Then, a dragon roar rang out, and a dragon roar rang out. As the perfect divine seal activated, the Tao contained in the dragon roar spread out. Kasi. Kasi. Those skeletal hands shattered. Xiaochen did not stop moving like a phantom as he pulled out Yunfei, who was half buried in the ground. He subdued the Herb King, saved Yunfei, and activated the divine seal. This series of actions flowed smoothly, completed in an instant. Yunfei and Nangongfeng felt like they were dreaming, startling awake after a while. Brother, many thanks for helping me. I am unable to repay this life-saving grace. When Nangongfeng saw the strangely dressed Xiaochen, who was wrapped in a bedsheet, he felt shocked. This person's strength and attire were also incredibly strange. It's me, Xiaochen. There was no need to hide his identity from Yunfei and Nangongfeng, so Xiaochen told them the truth. Xiaochen. The two showed pleasant surprise on their faces. At the same time, they were in disbelief. To think that Xiaochen was already so strong. Here, this is not the time to speak. Let's go first. Those monsters underground. Aside from half-step sovereign emperors with divine seals, the other sovereign personages do not have a good way to deal with them. I'll escort you out. Xiaochen handed the dream lotus to Nangongfeng. Then he led the way, escorting the two away. It was not yet time for the true danger to arrive. It was not too late to leave. Right. The two did not dare to be careless. They had wanted to leave long ago. Now that they no longer had anything to worry about, they quickly followed behind Xiaochen. With Xiaochen leading the way, they naturally did not encounter any obstacles. The three managed to leave the herb garden after 1 hour, despite the daunting experience. When the three looked back, the cracks in the pitch-black primal chaos sky dome looked terrifying. Miserable cries came from underground, making one's hair stand on end. Nangongfeng and Yunfei felt a lingering fear. If not for Xiaochen making a move, they would have died for sure. Xiaochen, many thanks, the two said gratefully. This was especially so for Nangongfeng, as Xiaochen had even helped him subdue the dream lotus. Nangongfeng felt so grateful that he did not know what to say. We are all brothers. There is no need to be so polite. Xiaochen smiled faintly. Then, he thought about Yunfei's cultivation technique, and gave him one of the 10,000-year-old herb kings. This. I cannot accept it. When Yunfei saw this, he was startled. A 10,000-year-old herb king was incredibly precious, worth cities. He simply did not dare to accept it. Xiaochen said calmly, I coincidentally obtained a 100,000-year-old herb king. This one is nothing. Yunfei and Nangongfeng felt greatly shocked, unable to hide the shock on their faces. I still have something to deal with, so I'll take my leave first. Right. A fog sea lay before them. After crossing this fog sea, they would arrive at another experiential training ground in paradise. The other people in the sea of fog were already rushing forward with all their might, trying to seize the initiative. As Yunfei and Nangongfeng watched Xiaochen disappear into the fog sea, they remained speechless for a long time, feeling deeply moved. Let's go too. I believe it is not convenient for Xiaochen to be with us now. I really can't recognize you as Brother Xiaochen with your attire. At the mention of Xiaochen's attire, the two could not help laughing. Then they stepped into the fog sea at the same time. Xiaochen was in a rush to leave not because it was not convenient for him to be with the two, but because he wanted to deal with the 100,000-year-old Herb King's Thunder Cliff Tree on the spot. If he did not deal with it, there would be a lot of trouble. Xiaochen chose to refine it on the spot, not giving the others a chance to do so. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.